information that we provide directly from the county, so directly from the Office of Emergency Services. The whole team cares. We're all local community members. We all just want to help.
So we were all sleeping in bed on Thursday, November 8th in Paradise. And first the house phone rang. Picked up my phone. It was my sister who lived a block or so away from us.
We were woken by a telephone call from my daughter. She said that we were being evacuated.
I left sooner than them. I had everything ready. They were on the way out the door.
There was not time to think about what you're going to take, what you're not going to take.
The night before the fire, I knew it was a red flag warning, and I knew that it was a high risk. So on my way home, I filled up the tank.
On our way out, we didn't get too far from the house, and we're watching fire coming down the hill.
There was a machine shop right to my right there. And it had gas tanks and propane tanks. And I saw a lone ember kind of floating through, dancing through the air. And I watched it as it landed on the machine shop. In the time it took me to get my phone back into hand and to take a picture, it was engulfed in flames. And I knew that within moments it would start exploding and I would be dead. And just as I moved out of the range of the explosions, they started happening, and I prayed for the people behind me.
10-minute drive normally to Chico became almost 4 hours. So it was a long trip.
We started to hear a pattern. People kept telling us their story of how they escaped the campfire. And they talked about how if it wasn't for my neighbor who came and knocked on my door to tell me there was a fire, I don't know that I would have gotten out alive. If it wasn't for my son who lives next door picking me up and putting me in their car and driving me out of there, I don't know how I would have survived. And so I started really thinking about this connection between isolation and how connected you are to your community, to your neighbors, to your friends, to your family, and how that can be really helpful in a time of a disaster.
So we were actually the beneficiaries of someone making that plan in advance to have that group of people that they were going to call. And that she saved my life that day. So absolutely having that network really saved lives.
Find your five. The idea is that, find trusted allies that can be there and can be responsive and will check in with you if a disaster were to happen.
So we recommend that you put people in your network that are down the street, that are maybe the next town over, that are outside the county, and maybe even outside the state.
The final tier of the Ready, Set, Go is that go piece, and it's simply that, it's go. Evacuation information comes in two types. The first type could be an evacuation warning. This is essentially information that we're going to push out to the public, notifying them of a potential threat in their area where they may have to evacuate their home. An evacuation order is essentially that. We are telling people that it's time to go. There is an imminent threat to life, and we do not believe that you have much time to leave the area.
Code Red is a opt-in alerting system that will dial your number. It'll send you a phone call, a text message, and an email notifying you of an emergency. That message is sent from our office, the Office of Emergency Services. It's going to be very targeted to your area, and it'll be specific to you.
At 5:13, the phone rang with the Code Red call. And so as I was going up 49, I could look over to the left and see the flames in the canyon.
The next layer is for staff to actually be out driving in the areas with a high-low siren. There's no other reason you'll hear that in an area unless we're putting out that evacuation order, not a warning, but an order.
My day started routine patrol, came in and I was notified by dispatch to respond out to the Jones fire. Houses that had evacuation tags made it so we could just pass by. We knew that the residents had already been evacuated. Residences that did not have the tags, we would have to physically go in, knock on the door, look in the windows, make sure there were no occupants inside.
Once you've been evacuated, as you're leaving, put this tag somewhere very, clearly identifiable, whether it's a mailbox, a gate, your address marker, so that deputies and officers can quickly identify if your residence has already been evacuated.
I mean, you look out my back window here.
I'm going to call this meeting to order of the Nevada County Board of Supervisors. It is July 12th, 2022. With that, I would like CDA Director Tricia to lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Julie, are there any corrections or deletions to the agenda this morning?
Thank you, Chair Hook. Yes, item number 37 is pulled from the agenda in response to a letter received yesterday from Randy Economy terminating his request for a recount.
Okay, great. So the rest of the agenda is in line. And so this morning, we're going to just start out with our general public comment. And members of the public should be allowed to address the Board of Supervisors on items not appearing on today's agenda that are of interest to the public and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Speakers are encouraged but not required to give their name and district of residence. Please direct your comments to the board, not the audience or the staff. No individual may speak more than once during public comment. In the interest of civil discourse, it's the responsibility of the chair to ensure that public comments are conducted in such a manner that avoids disruptive activity, promotes mutual respect, keeps comments focused on issues, and avoids personal attack. Today, the time limit is 3 minutes, and you can speak directly to the board. You can call in at 530-270-3474 to comment live over the phone. And of course, you can watch online, and Julia later will read anything that may have come in over emails or written. So I invite everybody to come one by one to the podium if they want to start public comment. Podium? Yes, please. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Kathy Eldridge, and I didn't hear correctly. Do you need my address or not?
No.
Okay. So I'm from Cascade Shores, and I'm here representing the Cascade Shores Homeowners Association Siren Committee. So you know this, if you know the Shores very well, it's a small community. We're just 1 square mile, and with a population of about 200 homes and about 400 people that occupy that area. We have a limited ingress and egress with just a few ways out if there's a fire. The other problem with our area is, of course, a lack of decent cell phone coverage. Many of our people cannot get cell phone coverage at all, and so it's difficult for them to use the Code Red service and to access. If the internet's down, it's hard to access the Zone Haven and all that. As we experienced this winter I had 3 weeks of no power, no cell, no internet. So that's the picture that we have. And of course, we're worried about fire, as everybody is. We started thinking about sirens, a community-wide siren that could be placed on top of our firehouse that exists there. And so we found out that the little community of Washington has a siren system such as that. And so I spoke with Mike Stewart from the Washington Volunteer Fire Department, and he said yes, that it works very well for them. They got it set up via some funding through grant money and matching grants. And being a retired fireman, he said, this could work well for you guys because you're such a small, compact community. And then he said, why don't you talk with your FireWise committee? And so I did. I talked with our FireWise committee, Christine Sloan, and she says, it's a great idea, Kathy. However, we are so busy doing defensible space issues that we can't take this on, but we won't stop you from going ahead with it. So then I got to go ahead from our homeowners association to continue pursuing this idea and looking for grant and matching fund money, which is kind of where we are now. I also spoke briefly with Consolidated Fire here in Nevada County, Pat Sullivan, a very brief conversation, and he too thought that might be a good idea. So I'm here with you today to help ask for your support and to ask for any help that you can give me in my search for funds. And if you can give us a thumbs up, that will help us out tremendously. It's a go. I think it would work for us. And we don't have we only have a couple ways out of our community since we can't rely on cell phones, as you know. So I've got 6 seconds left. Thank you so much for your time.
Kathy, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And someone will be in touch with you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Rich Fuchsjäger. I live in Cascade Shores. Kathy and I are the leaders of this group of people that are trying to do fire safety. We've already talked, had a homeowners meeting and stuff like that. We weren't very impressed with the information that we were getting. I'm a Rotarian. We had a speech from a gentleman named Lee Adams. He's a supervisor in Sierra County and works in Downeyville. And after he gave his speech, I thought it was really a great idea that he actually talked to us about, or talked to me about different things that we could do. So he gave me and Kathy the information that we did to get funding for their fire, our fire, or our siren and stuff. So that I'm moving on beyond that right here. But Kathy's already got some information about how we can get funded. So we know it's out there. We just need some help and support from you guys. Since you're our supervisors and there's so many issues in this community with fire that we'd all like to be fire safe. So here's why I'm here about this. I can use any help that I can. We would like Chalk Bluff Road. We would like to do something with Chalk Bluff Road out there so that we can escape. I have written 2 letters to Ricky Lake, Ricky Heck. Ricky, that Ricky Lake's a famous person, right? So Ricky Heck, and she's never answered me. We were asking about giving Alex Gamelgard, the police chief of Grass Valley, a key to that so that we could escape and go out that way. But they've never responded. So we're a little bummed with NID that we can't get out through the 3 gates that they have and they house the key for and won't give us one at all. It's hard to talk so fast. But we would like some help with Chalk Bluff Road. And Kathy and her husband went out there, and I've gone out there. We've tried to find our way to 20. It's just such a big mix-up. We don't want anyone to get lost out there and to get hurt in a fire. So I'm asking the county if there could be a county employee that knows the road that I could go with, that we could get some construction tape and to start taping it on trees and stuff like that so that we knew the route out there, so we could remember that, and then work maybe with the county to get the road graded eventually, to get some signage up there like they do have in Washington that says the escape routes. They've done that in Downeyville, and they've done that in Sierra City as well. The OES people from Sierra County have already contacted us and talked to us about what they can do and how they can help. So since you guys are our supervisors here, we just want to be on your side. We want to work with you guys, and I can get a big, huge committee to help with that road, but we do need it marked, and my time is running out. So, and Heidi, I know, give me a call, because if you want to go with me someday, I'd love to go out there, and maybe you can help me with that as well. So, okay, thank you very much.
Okay, great. And if you guys would leave your information with our new OES director there, Craig Griesbach, we can keep that in motion. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Lee French, Alta Sierra District 2. Seeing no one else standing up to say anything, I guess I'll. As a resident of Alta Sierra and a member of Alta Sierra Property Owners Association, only for the program, I object to the attack on the Board of Supervisors. Thank you. I object to the attack on the Board of Supervisors in the ESPOA newsletter written by Don Bessie, their editor. When I was VP of Alta Sierra, all such articles had to be approved by the Board of Directors. I doubt that this was approved by anyone except the author of the article. The newsletter is sent to everyone in Alta Sierra. He talked about getting back to the basics to protect neighborhoods. The Board of Supervisors does, in accordance with the ordinance, does not provide fire protection services. They are provided by CAL FIRE, local police, districts, Forest Service, BLM. If ESPOA has a problem with this, they need to work with them. It is not ESPOA's responsibilities to explain the ordinance to homeowners, but to direct them to the experts in the code department and their supervisors and be of assistance to the members. County leadership organizations demanded needed update in this letter. I don't know what organizations he's speaking of. If they've read the ordinance, and I have the section here, enforcement by fire department districts, fire is by the fire chiefs other than the board. There's an article, this is an article for the union, not to be sent out as a complaint or trying to direct thoughts of the population in Alta Sierra. ESPOA does not have any authority. They cannot control things. And I suggest that they stay out of politics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. French. Good morning.
Good morning, Calvin Clark from Rough and Ready. Thank you for placing these down here. I'd just like to make a public comment regarding the proper role of government and that no government can exist in peace except where such laws are framed and held inviolate as will secure to each individual the freedom of conscience, the right and control of property, and the protection of life. As you know, the great civic duty standard of local elected officials is to follow the law, the oath of office, which includes and is the Constitution. It is not mandates from the state. I've requested over and over to find out when the mandate that you have followed will end, and I have not received an answer. This mandates program from the state includes earmarked money in the millions and millions of dollars, as I mentioned last Board of Supervisors meeting, that we're concerned that you're building a mental hospital here in Nevada County with the amount of money and funds that are going to different groups, including departments. Very much bloated government. As you know, in this this land of liberty, the wise founders, and the patriotic partners in that we're not NGO partners. They were not United Nations partners like the Sierra Business Council. They partnered with people who loved and cherished freedom more than their own lives. And as pertaining to the law of this land, it's been said that God provided that in this land of liberty, our political allegiance shall run not to individuals, that is, to government officials like you 5 Board of Supervisors, no matter how great or small you may be. Under the divine plan, our allegiance and our only allegiance we owe as citizens or denizens of the United States runs to our inspired Constitution, which God Himself set up. So runs the oath of office of those who participate in government. A certain loyalty we do owe to the office which a man holds, but even here we owe just by reason of our citizenship no loyalty to the person themselves. How important is that? We see the parroting lines of language of this person did a good thing, or this person gave money to our nonprofit organization, so we're here to beg for more money, or we're here to receive more handouts under these mandates. As you know, that the Constitution is basic to our freedom. Please recognize your oath of office. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. So in just a little while, you're going to be presented with the opportunity to speak with Mr. Diaz and approving his certified elections. Now, I have a problem with the previous election. Going into it, the voter rolls were not in compliance with federal and state laws. Mr. Diaz has been non-compliant over the last decade in keeping these voter rolls compliant. And so as you listen to him saying that his voter rolls and this election was done according to the books and this is the way it should be, do understand that by accepting his certification that this election was run properly, fairly, and in compliance at all times with all aspects of the laws regarding elections, that you're making a grave mistake. It's going to put this board in extreme liability because I have told you on multiple occasions that the voter rolls have not been in compliance for more than a decade. And so, it cost me more extra money. I mean, there was an extra 4,000 people on our voter rolls that should not have been there. And yet I had to pay 2.5 pennies to get my statement of qualifications onto the voter guide. Now, granted, it's not a big sum of money, but the fact remains is because of these dirty voter rolls, I had to incur a greater expense than was necessary. And so, it's high time that this board recognizes its oversight responsibility. There is a problem with the voter rolls. At what point in time is this board going to accept that liability for that responsibility to keep that elections office in compliance with the law? I've asked this board to use the Auditor Controller's Office to audit the voter roll to see, are they in compliance? You don't. So, all I can say is the analysis that I've been doing on this voter rolls must be true and correct if you're too afraid to prove me wrong. So, bottom line is, I do not think that you should be accepting his certification, but only because The voter rolls are an integral part of the election process. And as long as he is unable to get it done properly, then this board should never accept anything that comes out of his office as results from an election. Notwithstanding the fact that we wanted to have a recount done for various reasons, but hey, that's a whole nother story in itself. But it's time for this board to start accepting its responsibilities with regards to elections.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. And thank you, Paul. As Paul was saying, we need to clean up the dirty voter rolls. BOS needs to work on more oversight. And right now they're out of compliance, and they need to get the job done so it's fair for everyone in this county. It needs to be taken care of. Thank you.
The Supreme Court of Wisconsin, the Supreme Court of Wisconsin recently ruled that ballot boxes are unconstitutional and illegal, dating back to 2020. And that's completely what we run on here. I would suggest you take heed about that as you look at certifying or accepting the certification of the voters that happened on June 7th. This is going to be something that travels across the country, this idea of the ballot boxes being unconstitutional. And I suggest you be ahead of the curve, pay attention, listen up, and act accordingly. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, so we're still in public comment, and again, anything that's not on the agenda. Julie, is there anybody online on the phone?
We do have one caller waiting.
Let's take a caller, and then we'll come back.
Can we bring the caller in, please?
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good morning.
Yep. Okay, cool. Good morning. Yeah, my name's Dan Watson, and I'm a union carpenter by trade. And I'm just calling in to voice my opinion and my concern that Nevada County, that we need to do a better job. Everywhere really needs to do a better job in providing opportunities for young people who want to get in the trades and be the future tradesmen building this country, and utilizing contractors that pay health care to their employees and offer apprenticeship programs. My personal experience of going through a carpentry apprenticeship while raising a family and always knowing what my wage was going to be, while learning my skills, while being able to provide health care, while one day knowing hopefully that I'll be able to retire one day, has been a great experience. And I wish that experience for much more people and members of the Nevada County community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I just want to point out real quick what an interesting, you might check up with the Contractors Association. I think they have something going like that. And also the school new programs, they're bringing that back into the high school. So it's really important. But thank you for bringing that message.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Ralph Soberstein, president of CEA Foundation. I imagine that you are all aware of CEA Foundation and our Mine Watch campaign to stop Rice Gold's proposal to reopen the Idaho-Maryland mine. Today, we are here to present to the board a petition signed by members of the community. The petition opposing the mine states, "Protect our health, economy, and quality of life." And it concludes with, "We, the undersigned, urge the Board of Supervisors to reject this destructive proposal and instead protect our community." To date, well over 6,500 signatures have been collected. We've combed the files to remove duplicates, so we can honestly attest that there are over 5,500 unique petition signers. This includes 4,714 signatures from Nevada County residents, plus 283 regional residents and 310 from tourists and others. We're also submitting a separate compilation of the petitioners' comments. There are over 1,500 comments. These are the personal individual voices of the community, and they provide a good window into the concerns of the community about the mine. On a related subject, the draft EIR, a recent press release by Rice Gold stated that, quote, "The county received approximately 2,850 comment letters during the comment period, of which the majority, approximately 1,600 comment letters, expressed support for the project." We understand that the purpose of the EIR is to provide information about the environmental impacts. General statements supporting or opposing the project are not actually relevant to the EIR process. But apparently Rice Gold submitted the DEIR comments as pre-written letters and a small percentage of pre-printed cards they received back from their mass mailings, and then used those numbers to create a misleading statement of public support for the mine. However, upon examination, we found that there are over 500 duplicated comments of support, with many comments repeated 5 to 10 times. So in fact, the actual number is around 1,100, not 1,600. I have a printout of that with duplicated ones marked in red, which I'll hand in to you. But even more outrageous is that a number of the pro-mine comments were apparently forged or misused. We know this because they used names from some of our Mine Watch volunteers. In summary, we are quite certain that the majority of our community oppose the mine, and we are happy to submit to you our honest petition of over 5,500, 4,700 plus from Nevada County, urging you to reject the Rice Gold Mine project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ralph. If you could give those to Julie over there, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Sharon Delgado. Good morning. And I'm a United Methodist minister, and I'm also today representing Earth Justice Ministries. And that's part of the Mine Watch Coalition. And so our organization has circulated petitions, we've written op-eds and spoken publicly and sent letters to public officials, and of course sent comments in regarding the draft DIR as an organization and also as individuals, our individual voices. But today, I am raising the concern about Rice Gold misrepresenting public support for the mine. I knew something was wrong when I saw that press release stating that most of the DEIR comments showed support for the mine, that 1,600 out of 2,850. But then imagine my surprise when my husband and I saw our names listed as supporters of the mine, as people who had sent in emails supporting the mine. Well, in fact, not just once, but 3 times, and I will leave them for you to see. These are so-called DEIR comments, 3 different ones sent in our name. And they're all identical. They just say, "I support the reopening of the Idaho-Maryland mine," which is not even a comment on the DEIR. And our names were forged electronically. And it was actually just the first line of a larger statement that was sent out on behalf of other people. And other people, it happened that other people's were falsified too. We know of other people. And that they're part of what Rise Gold claimed were legitimate DEI comments. We don't know. I don't know how many were falsified. The other problem is that Rise Gold misused the DEIR process as a public relations campaign. The whole point isn't to gauge whether you support or oppose the mine. It's to comment on the impacts of the project and really to give Rise Gold a chance to, fix those problems. But Rise Gold is actually treating it like a poll or a survey by tallying up their pre-printed postcards, which I got, a lot of people got, and electronic form letters, and over 500 of which were duplicates anyway. Our Mine Watch Coalition members and other people in the community commented on the impacts of the project, like we were asked to do during that comment period. And now we're turning in petitions that have been circulated by hardworking volunteers. That's 5,550 names, no duplications. And I encourage you to recognize these petitions as an honest measure of where most of the public stands on the mine.
Thank you, Sierra.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here. My name is Holly Rose. I live in District 4. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. It has come to my attention that Rise Gold used my email address fraudulently to support their June 29th press release. Rise Gold reports majority of comments on draft EIR support the Idaho-Maryland mine. It states the county received approximately 2,850 comment letters during the comment period, of which the majority, 1,600, expressed support for the project. 5 of those comments supporting the mine are from my email address, sent at 8:27 a.m. on February 11th. 5 of them at the exact same time. I type really fast, but not that fast. I did not send them. I do not support the mine, and I empathize with those who already had to deal with the consequences of Mr. Mossman's last mine. I guess Rise thought, no one will find out. What harm can it do? I'm surprised that they thought we'd be too stupid to verify these numbers. No, it doesn't affect how the mine will operate. And I don't think they'd lie about anything else. Do you? And I have these emails printed for you if you'd like to see them.
Okay, Holly, yeah, if you would leave those with my clerk, that would be great.
There's 5 of them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
So before those get moved someplace else, could, no, here, that'll be fine. Would you mind giving those to the clerk, please? Thank you. Okay.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Christy Hubbard. I'm a Grass Valley homeowner in District 3, a volunteer with the CEA Foundation, and a leader in the Mine Watch campaign. Let me begin by saying that despite Rise Gold's claims to the contrary, the people of Nevada County are overwhelmingly rejecting this mine. I'm here today to share more about the evidence we have to back that up. I think we're all growing deeply weary of Rise Gold's egregious misrepresentations, maybe even you too. Last year, there was the widely criticized, heavily manipulated poll that concluded the majority of residents supported the mine. Early this year, their glossy mailer proclaimed that the mine was going to be green, while happily ignoring the huge energy use and greenhouse gas emissions they'll be generating. Even more alarming were assertions that, quote unquote, the county has determined that the project is safe, implying that a draft environmental report was the final word on the subject. Then last week, they hit a new low with this press release claiming the majority of the comments on the environmental report supported the mine. Come again? Are they serious? I distinctly remember sitting in this very room at the Planning Commission meeting and being told that this was not the forum for or against comments, but that we should focus our comments on the adequacy of the draft report itself. Silly us. We follow the rules. Maybe we should have known better given Rise Gold's ongoing gamesmanship, but frankly, games just aren't our style. Perhaps they can fool their investors, but they are not fooling us. The fact of the matter is that far more people oppose this mine than support it, and we have a growing mountain of evidence to prove it. Ralph Silberstein just filled you in on the over 5,500 petition signatures and 1,500 personalized comments we're delivering today. There were over 100 volunteers who helped collect these signatures, and many of them told us that their job was easier than expected because it was extremely rare to meet anyone who actually supported the mine. But that's not the only proof we have. Almost 500 people attended the Planning Commission meeting in March. Of the 101 who took tickets to speak, only one spoke in support of the mine. There's also 250 Nevada County businesses who have gone on the record opposing the mine. Almost 150 signed a letter of opposition that was delivered to you in May, and another 100+ new names are included in today's petition. We did verify business ownerships on those. Then there's the 168 opinion pieces published in the Union newspaper about the mine, only 8 of which were pro-mine. That's 95% opposed. And finally, MineWatch social media groups are over 2,500 members strong. So let's put this to bed, should we? This community does not want this mine. I've summarized our evidence in a packet that you'll be given, which includes my email address. And I really encourage you to please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.
Thanks,
Thank you
Christy.
for your time.
I'm Jim Bear.
Good morning.
Resident of Grass Valley. My team has had the opportunity to present our analysis of the Rise Gold Mine economic impacts to Supervisors Hoke and Hall. Thank you. We are the Unitarian Community Stop the Mine Task Force, which includes Stanford scientists and corporate executives like myself, accounting managers, professional hydrologists, PhDs, and other people, engineers, and so forth. And we've done a lot of work on the report. We are faced with a massive challenge, however. We're trying to communicate our analysis to Nevada County while Rise Gold Mine has an army of consultants and employees financed by public securities investments. Having been a director of a public company, I know that it is relatively easy to raise millions of dollars in the stock market. The mine's money has been used to finance attorneys, staff, very bad PR campaigns, investor solicitations, SEC filings, etc. How can we communicate our expert findings on a par with the mine? The mine has full access to the county and even has regular meetings between mine attorneys and the county planning department. Having been a planning commissioner, I know the huge responsibility that falls on the planning department, who will ultimately make recommendations to you. But since our community team has found huge exaggerations, distortions, and even falsifications in the mine's economic impact report, shouldn't we present to the planning department? My favorite distorted claim is the creation of 312 jobs in our county. But RISE can't require that employees live in the county. They also claim high pay, but it's an average including top management and far more hours worked than 40 hours a week. I've lived and hired here for over 20 years, owned 3 businesses, and do not believe that 156 deep tunnel mining jobs with 12 hours, 7 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week are going to be attractive to residents. Perhaps the most deceptive claim is the 300 induced county jobs, that is, they don't work for the mine. Really? Gold Miners Inn will need to double its staff. Wendy's will need twice the waiters. Perhaps Ubidox will need more nurses because mining is one of the most dangerous industries in the world. Finally, with over 1,000 negative DEI comments highlighting enormous environmental impacts, The claimed increase in jobs is 0.7% of the
Mr.
county
Beer,
employment.
thank you.
We need to talk to the planning department.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Marion Blair. I am a community member of Grass Valley, and I bought my home here 9 years ago. I retired a year ago. I pay taxes. I spend my hard-earned pension, union, by the way, on goods and services in the community, and I vote. I couldn't wait to retire to this small, peaceful community. I was so shocked when I first heard about the potential reopening of the mine with 2,500 acres plus of tunnels under the town of Grass Valley, and my concern only grows the more I study this proposal. Here are my concerns. Grass Valley will lose that peaceful, small-town feeling when blasting is occurring, trucks are rolling in and out, and traffic congestion will be terrible in the Brunswick Basin. And Highway 49. Already, the community is being stressed and pulled apart by even considering this proposal. All you have to do is read the editorials and, the Planning Commission meeting, all of it. This is really a lot to ask. Property values will decrease. The real estate brokers and agents I have spoken to think it will be by about 20%. Why would we trust Ben Mossman, who is facing 29 charges in Canada after filing bankruptcy on his last gold mining adventure and leaving behind a toxic disaster? Doesn't seem to matter to Mr. Mossman, but we don't want a repeat of that here. California is in an extended drought. The tree moisture content is at the lowest in recorded history. Reservoirs are emptied annually, and the snowpack and ice fields of the Sierra keep shrinking each year. The waste of water for dust control alone in this project and the risk of fire from sparks or stored explosives are both too high to contemplate. I carefully read much of the DEIR, and I do have a science background. 3 of my 4 degrees are science degrees. The environmental impacts of this project are not insignificant, as Mr. Mossman would have us believe. They are catastrophic, as thousands of comments on the DEIR have shown. The promise of jobs is hollow. The numbers are overinflated with the assumption of projected part-time hires in the area. Most of the full-time jobs will be dangerous, low-paying, subterranean jobs with long hours, not the glamorous 6-digit incomes that a handful of engineers from out of the area will earn. I cannot state enough how egregious I find this entire project, a real Pandora's box in my view. I sincerely hope you will think about your constituents' health and well-being and the character of this lovely community when you consider allowing this mine to be reopened by Rise Gold. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Julie? Oh, no, come on. Do we have any written comment, though? I'm just curious.
Yes, Chair, I do have one written comment.
Okay, we'll go to that next. Good morning.
After me.
Yeah, after you.
Good morning to the board. Mike Pasner. I'm a farmer down in Penn Valley. Been farming locally for 36 years with NID water. This mine intends to pump its tunnels into Wolf Creek. Wolf Creek supplies my irrigation water through the tar ditch, and I am not willing to trust Rise Gold with the quality of my irrigation water. None of us should be, especially with an 80-year situation. Just thought I wanted to express my opinion to this board so you understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Julie, you have a written comment?
Yes, thank you, Chair. My name is Tammy Martinson. I reside in District 4. After 23 years of service to Nevada County, I will be retiring. However, before I depart, I felt compelled to address the Board of Supervisors and thank you for your continued service to the residents of Nevada County. While some community members only view you as 5 individuals who appear in the chambers twice monthly, little do they know that your workday extends past the standard 8 to 5 hours. This is also true of the dedicated employees who also strive to provide the best service to our community, even when it means sacrificing personal time to complete the task or service at hand. For the past several years, I have tuned into the live broadcast of the twice-monthly board meetings. Here is where I consistently witness disrespectful behavior from a small group of individuals. I have seen you harangued by a group of so-called experts, complainers, and failed board challengers who continually harass you with erroneous statements. Frankly, I am appalled by their behavior, and we have seen them displayed, and I can only commend you on your poise while handling such comments and outbursts. Thank goodness for our county spoke loud and clear at the polls, louder than those ever chose to embarrass themselves regularly in this room. While I have no doubt the harassment shall continue, please know that the majority of Nevada County residents empathize with you, and we are appreciative of the good work you do in our community.
Okay, thank you. Julie, is there anybody else on the line?
We do have one caller that keeps calling and hanging up, but he's not online right now.
Okay. All right. So again, this is general public comment. And is there anybody else in the audience that would like to comment on anything else that's not on the agenda?
Chair Hook, they are screening this individual.
Okay. Let's just wait a second then.
So I believe he's ready to come on.
Okay.
Can we bring the caller in, please?
Good morning. Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, good morning,
comment?
Matthew.
There's a delay. Am I on public comment?
You are in general public comment.
Okie dokie. I hope that someday we can fix the delay between the different media sources that you guys are promoting your show on, which it's called, because it definitely is a show. Starting with public comment, fire safety, Grass Valley has none at all. Piles of dry leaves are in the city parks that have been there from last year. They're a fire hazard. To the folks that want help from the county for fire safety, I suggest you buy bolt cutters because fences are going up and gates are going up everywhere and you're on your own. So don't expect the county to really be there in case of a fire situation. The radios failed miserably during the Rice's fire situation and will fail on any other situation due to lack of attention given to that subject, which is just a shame for our first responders. The fire on Sutton Way, Hospitality House, I did a nice video, you can see it on my Concerned Citizen website on Facebook, about the women living in the dry brush there for weeks before the fire started and almost captured the brand new apartments. Speaking of, were supposed to be for elders and disabled veterans that have somehow become for the mentally disabled now from Hospitality House. I see a lot of money going towards these things, not veterans, not elders, but for the mentally ill that are being shipped in. This is quite disconcerting. The homeless camps all around the Brunswick Basin and the habit of burning tents when you're either done with them or have a grudge against another homeless person needs to stop, definitely. Voting in Nevada County, well, you know, my mom did voting for years, and there was definitely complete boxes lost and misplaced, and so voting in Nevada County has always been a sham. So restraining orders have been put against me. One was placed yesterday by a so-called judge in Nevada County by a contractor working for the city that physically pushed me into the street and put me in the hospital. Even with video and photographic evidence showing the judge this, still the ruling went against me. I have 2 more restraining order violations to go to court for this week on Friday, both from people working for the city of Grass Valley. One is the mayor of Grass Valley, which the city council already has a restraining order against me, so I don't know what, this is just going to be really interesting. And the other one is the contractor for Memorial Park, who I've had to deal with the state level on what they're doing to the water and the air over there, because the city and the county won't do anything about it. These blatant violations of stirring up this dust from a toxic waste pond.
Okay, Matthew.
That was given.
Thank you. Your time's up.
Okay, what, Sue?
Appreciate it. Thank
Is
you.
my time up, or is it okay? Now, I heard you comment on other people's stuff. Can you comment on
Okay, is there any other general public comment this morning? Nobody else online, Julie? Okay, well then, with that, I'm going to close general public comment. And we're going to move into our consent calendar, which is items 1 through 35. These items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They're either renewal contracts, amendments, or items that have previously come before the board. The Board of Supervisors will act upon them at one time without discussion. Any board member may request that an item be removed from the consent calendar. Members of the public wishing to ask questions or hear discussion on items listed on the consent agenda may now raise their concerns to the board members. The supervisors will take the concerns under consideration and decide if there's adequate reason to remove the item from consent. If an item is pulled from the board member, the questions by the members of the public will be addressed. No further public comment regarding the items will be received. And again, we can call in, we've had written, and we'll move right to a public comment from the chambers. So these are items 1 through 35. Does anybody on my board have, let's see, is there any public comment? We'll give it a little bit more time. Everyone's kind of moving around.
We do have one caller also when you're ready for that.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm learning your protocols, so sorry for being slow. My name is Diane Marshall. I am here on behalf of the Greenhorn Fireweiss community. We wish very much to thank you for the support you're giving to our water tank project. What an effort, and we're all learning a lot. Maybe I'll write a book, or at least a manual. I also have for you all a thank you that we created over time for the last free green waste disposal. And this was signed by people from all over the county. It was not just the Greenhorn Fireweiss community. We transported it around to get more signatures. The last thing I want to say is that I live on Lost Lake Road. We are considered a public access private road. We are an evacuation route. We connect Greenhorn and You Bet roads. There are people working on punching through tertiary connecting routes to Lost Lake Road to help their communities get out. And anything that you can do to help support private roads that have no pullouts, private roads that don't get graded, private roads that do get rutted when PG&E and AT&T utility trucks are parked there because of Snowmageddon. You get the picture. I know you know what I'm talking about. That help us get matching funds for repairing things is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments for consent? Julie, do you have any written comments?
No, Chair, we do have a caller online, though.
Okay, let's bring the caller in.
Can we bring that caller in, please?
Are you there, caller?
Are you there?
Oh, there we go. What items are you looking to have comment on?
Oh, I'd like to comment on all of them because when I see $3 million here and $1 million there, and it seems to be every other week this is happening, seems like there needs to be a cutoff on a certain amount of money. There needs to be more discussion about the items. There needs to be more explanation about the items. And like I said, they just keep coming every 2 weeks. It's like these same departments ask for millions of dollars. And these gives weren't even asked a few years ago at all. So it's just amazing to me that 36 items, is it today? We're just going to rubber stamp them. Nobody has anything to say about them. We're not going to discuss them. We're just going to roll on. When the format used to be one by one, you'd go through them. But I understand you don't want public comment. I have understood it my entire life. I watched my parents go through it. And now I'm going through it with being physically assaulted by your cronies and dealing with this crap. But luckily I don't have kids for it to fall back on like it did for them. So just me.
I know. So did you have one in particular that you wanted to talk about, Matthew? Do you have one in particular that you want to?
Which out of control. You're making us the laughing stock of frickin' Northern California.
Okay, if you don't
Thank
have
you.
any comment for the consent, any items on there, Matthew, then we're going to be done with our conversation. Do you have anything on consent that you really want, is there one in particular or two that you want to comment on? Okay. Okay, with that, we'll go back to the chamber. If there's anybody that has any items on consent specifically, I'd like to mention this time of year, we have a lot of contracts that get renewed. This is a process that we do every year. These things are not new to the budget. These are things that are already in the budget in place. A lot of these items have to do with standing orders that come from the state. They're items that we have to, they're services that we have to provide. There's a lot of work that goes into these. We've seen these in the budget, and we've also seen these as individuals and met with staff if we have questions about the funding or where it comes from. So there is time that goes into this, and it's not just a rubber stamped type of a situation. We do reporting that comes out on different times of the year that says how these programs are working, and it is very transparent. It does take time to look at that, and you can always look at all these online. Okay, and we'll go back to you for public comment.
My name is Calvin Clark. I'm from Rough and Ready. I am so grateful right now that there's going to be a serious forensic audit, and it's underway, of all of your communication with all of your departments, including those nonprofits that you communicate with.
Which item is that, Calvin?
And that has to do with your ARPA funding.
Okay.
And the question of item 30 under with Allison Lehman here, as was discussed last Board of Supervisor meeting. Apparently, you get a packet from Allison as the chair, and it gets distributed to Hardy Bullock, Ed Schofield, Sue Hook, Dan Miller, and Heidi Hall on Thursday. And it seems like from your comments, Sue, Chair, you don't even know what's in it until Thursday, the week before the Tuesday meeting. And as a standard of practice, as Matthew Coulter said, you actually do the meeting backwards. Your department heads, for instance.
So what's your question?
I would like Allison Lehman first to make a presentation on item number 30 before public comment happens.
So item 30 is what you wanted pulled? Is item 30 it?
So, yes, I'd like that
Okay,
pulled.
and what's your reasoning? You have a comment on that?
Because the presentation of this information is not done by the department heads prior to public comment. So you're actually staging a racketeering communication system here, where you get the public to speak up, and then your department heads get to make comments, and you've cut off public comment after that. So Matthew Coulter is correct, and your process is backwards. So I would like you to poll items 1 through 33 for that reason, until you can do it properly. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments for consent? Julie, nothing else? No one else online? No written?
No written and no calls. Thank you.
Okay, great. Then we're going to close public comment. I'm going to bring that back to my board. Are there any questions or any items that want to be pulled from the board?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda. I am going to, now at this point, it's been moved and seconded, there's an opportunity for conversation here. And let's see, we're going to just look at this just for interesting sake. There was a process that went through for our grant agreement through the Firewise community. It was a resiliency grant fund. And Errol, would you mind taking just a time and give us a little brief overview? There was a lot of work that went into this and how the funding went, how it's managed, and how it is, how we report on all this. So
Yes.
Thank you. Ariel is here, and along with Caleb Dardick. Thank you. Just give us a brief overview, if you don't mind, for the public.
Yeah, good morning, Chair Hook, and certainly, and I invited Caleb Dardick, our Assistant CEO, to join me because he was part of beginning this process. So this process began in April of 2021, when your board allocated $5.8 million of Nevada County's American Rescue Plan allocation to community and economic development priorities, including allocating approximately $2 million to the community resiliency grants. These grants were meant to provide relief, recovery, and promote resilience in Nevada County, and were available to businesses, nonprofits, and special districts. I don't know how much detail. So we
No,
went
that's
through an
really great,
RFP.
and this has been before the board twice, I believe.
Yes, so this process initially, there was an RFP that was brought to the board, a request for proposals. That request was released, a panel of, we received far more applications than we could fund. A panel that was half staff and half community members evaluated those proposals, brought recommendations to the CEO, who brought them to your board for approval. Those 32 were approved. We then went back and created individual grant agreements with each of those 32 awardees, and then brought them back to the board again. And most of those were brought to the board in a large package. I can't remember the date, but we brought most of those agreements many months ago. Some of the nonprofits and organizations that we were working with, because we do due diligence on the projects and make sure the projects are ready, took a little bit longer for us to develop those contracts to ensure that that they could be implemented in a way that made good use of public funds. So that was this process with Greenhorn Firewise specifically, is ensuring that readiness to purchase these tanks.
Perfect.
And when they were able to demonstrate that readiness, we completed the contract and are bringing it to you. There's only one more outstanding that we're doing similar process to make sure that organization is ready. All the other 30-something have been funded. Those contracts have been completed.
Okay, thank you for that
And
clarification.
Chair Hook, I just want to add that every item regarding ARPA is on the county website. And so if Mr. Clark would like assistance finding that information, we could have staff work with him. Thank you.
And can I
Okay.
just add one more that
You can.
there will be reports. Thank you for reminding me, Allison. So obviously not for this one because it's just getting funded today, but quarterly reports are on the county's ARPA website for all of the funding.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so that will close that discussion.
A call for the question, Chair Hook.
So, Mr. Clark, if you would like to meet after the meeting, we're happy to do that with you. And it's on the website. It's on the website. Okay, and with that, it's been moved and seconded. If there's no other discussion from my board, Julie, would you call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Chair. District 3?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 4?
District 4, yes. Thank you so much. Here we go. So our next item today, we're going to move to department head matters, and we're on item 36, which is a resolution adopting the certified statement of votes cast for the California statewide direct primary election held on June 7th, 2022. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Diaz, Greg Diaz.
Well, good morning, Chair Hook, fellow members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Gregory Diaz, Nevada County Clerk Recorder, Registrar of Voters. According to the California Election Code, I need to submit the certified statement of the June 7th primary, statewide primary, to you. And according to Election Code 15400, the board shall declare elected or nominated to each office voted on at each election under its jurisdiction the person having the highest number of votes for that office, and also declare the results of each election under its jurisdiction as to each measure voted on at the election. I have presented these certified results to you, and I ask that you declare the candidates with the highest number of votes to be elected to these offices. And I'm here to answer any questions. I would like to state we put the results of our 1% audit and attach it to the certification paperwork. For this particular election, we had a random draw and we drew 446 ballots to be recounted as part of the 1% audit. 445 ballots were counted and there were no variances between the machine count and the manual count. This one ballot that was missing, 446, we just could not find. I made that notation as part of our certification paperwork in the interest of being transparent, and this was certainly good enough for me, and I did certify on June 29th. Happy to answer any questions about the election.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. Anybody from my board have any questions? No questions? So then I will open up public comment. Is there any public comment? Julie, do you have any written public comment?
I do have one letter that was received.
Okay, could you read that in?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is from Robert Wren. He is the chairman of the Nevada County Republican Party. And he writes, "This letter is to identify an issue relative to the subject agenda item. Your packet includes documents on the agenda, and I direct your attention to the document titled Completed Memorandum Documents. This document includes a 2-page report entitled Report of 1% Manual Tally. In summary, the report concludes 116 polling place ballots and 330 VBM ballots were manually counted. And I assume that's vote by mail. Of the 116 polling place ballots manually counted, CP34 showed 25 in-person paper ballots scanned, but only 24 ballots were found. This could have caused by a missing ballot, a double scan of a ballot, or a mistake of the scanning equipment. The search for a missing ballot was not successful. This represents a failure of the 1% audit for the June 2022 election, yet no action was taken to bolster the confidence in the election process, such as expanding the size of the audit. Expanding the audit size could have confirmed that this was an isolated case rather than a systemic issue. Unlike the last regular election in November 2020, a certification of zero discrepancies signed by Mr. Diaz was not included in the certification of results. Before adopting this resolution, we asked the Board of Supervisors request clarification from the clerk recorder, registrar of voters on the issue. It begs the obvious question of how many other irregularities occurred.
Good thing, that's the only one. And I think I got one from Amy Young, I believe it was similar to that.
Yeah, we did, Chair, receive 1 or 2, but they came in after the fact, but we will upload them to the agenda management system so that the public can see them.
Okay, perfect. Okay, any other questions? So one of the questions, though, that came up ahead, and maybe we could just, since we're here, let's just answer that question. I think you did with your 1%. Is there a reason that you don't go with a larger audit of those, Greg?
You know, we actually do count a few more ballots than we need to. I believe the 1% had us counting 379 ballots. We went up to 446. Typically, 5% more will do for each election, but that's just my call.
Okay. And then the other question we get a lot is about the voter rolls. How do you manage that? I mean, that's a big thing in your office, correct?
Voter roll maintenance, we do pretty much 11, 12 months of the year. I continually hear about irregularities, or 400 people shouldn't be here, or 4,000 people are there. Not once has anyone come into my office to speak with me about these irregularities. I'd love to have someone come in, make an appointment, show me the names, we'll review the voter roll, and we'll see, in fact, where we stand. The generalities the last year and a half about elections make it very hard for us to actually focus and find what the problem is. Irregularities must be the most used word in the English language now for election processes. Give me specifics, come to my office, we sit down, and we'll find out what the issues are. And I welcome anyone to do it, but so far, no one has. Wonder why?
Okay, well, that's a good, that's opportunity. People listen, if somebody have questions, they make an appointment with you and you guys
Sure.
come and sit it down.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, so I have, we go some public comment in the chamber.
Mr. Diaz,
So,
and the board, I have mentioned that there are 4,000 names, registrations that should not have been on the voter roll and mailed ballots. So one of the things that I think that Mr. Diaz should, given the size of this, we're talking about 4,000 people. This is more than just coming into his office and going over a few names. This requires an audit. This needs to be audited by an organization that is respected by this county, the Auditor's Controller's Office, being that any audit they do can be audited by other auditors, and the auditors that audit those auditors can be audited. That gives the level of, to me, as an individual of this community, that if any audit can be audited 3 times, that it's going to be done correctly. Do I have any faith in the elections office to be able to do this audit on their own? No, I do not. The reason is because this is a systemic problem that's been going on for more than a decade, okay? And I can only stress, from my point of view, that the only way that we're going to get to the bottom of this problem is for there to be an independent audit. That's it. I'm not going to take his word on it. I don't expect him to take my word on it. If he wants to see my list of 4,000, that's great. Is he also going to then, once we prove that these 4,000 names should have been removed years ago, is he going to offer me a refund on the extra money I had to spend out to put my statement of qualifications into the voter guide? Because that is something that, from what I recall, there was 75,000 names that are people that received ballots this year, and yet 4,000 of them should not have received a ballot. He's causing increased costs in his own office and mailing it out. Those costs are then turned back to me and other candidates that want to run. It's wrong that I should be paying more than what I'm legally required to, and what I'm legally required to pay for are people who are on that voter roll legitimately. And somebody who has not voted in the 3 previous federal elections, this is a period of 4 years, if he's not able to remove them through his own internal processes, then there needs to be some external accountability to that, and this board needs to start dealing with it. So I don't think you should accept his certified results at this time.
okay, thank you for that, Paul. But I think too, maybe that sit-down operation, maybe you just do that quick, just like you did with that. You pick so many people out of that list and you check them, but that would be up to the recorder's office.
And I welcome that.
Okay, and I heard that in your comments before, that you welcome that. So let's see how that moves forward. Susan, good morning.
Yes, so one of the biggest problems that lends itself to voter fraud is, election fraud, is uncleaned voter rolls. And that's been becoming established through all the work that's being done with the different states across the country that are examining the election of 2020. And so we have voter rolls that are not cleaned up here in Nevada County. I really am very concerned about the, what is it called? The first voter gets the worm, or whatever it is. You get the vote. The first voter that gets the vote. So there's lots of people in our county that have showed up to vote, and they're told, oh, you already voted. And so that's a situation that lends itself also to election fraud in our county. You look surprised, Sue.
No, I'm just listening. I'm listening to you.
And then I have a lot of concerns about the election department. It's my understanding that the elections department should be nonpartisan.
It is.
It is. Okay. So how does a department recommend, endorse a person. How does that happen? In a nonpartisan. Greg Diaz right here endorsed his own person in the campaigning situation. I feel like that's highly irregular and should never happen. It should never happen for a nonpartisan position. Greg Diaz signed his oath of office. He witnessed his own oath. You can look on his oath of office. He signed his own oath, witnessed himself sign it.
Okay.
These are very disturbing things, what's going on in our county. And just, this is just slightly off the topic, but when you've been presented with all the corruption and lying and cheating that Rise Mine has done.
Wait, we're only on.
I know, but I'm just saying,
I know,
it's
that's
like.
off topic.
We're talking about corruption, I don't trust what he wants to do, what do you call
Okay.
it, certify.
Okay.
Anyway.
So this would be a thing. This is opportunity to make those appointments and sit down with Greg if you have those questions. And that's where we're at with that. So is there any other public comment?
We do have one caller, Chair.
Okay, let's take that caller.
Can we bring the caller in, please?
Are you there, caller?
There?
Hello?
I'm here. Hello?
Okay, good morning.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes. What's your name?
Okay. My name is Heather Colby, and I am the Nevada County Republican Election Integrity Officer. Greg knows who I am. Hi, Greg. I just have a comment about the 1%. My email was sent in, and it's just going to get put in a file. So I thought I would bring it up and just read it quickly. Hopefully it doesn't get cut off the 2 minutes. So I'm just going to start. There are several processes the election office goes through to verify the validity of an election. One of the processes is the 1% tally for both the in-person ballot and the mail-in ballots. There is a concern that the 1% manual tally had errors, and that was never resolved. The reason why the elections office conducts the 1% tally for both the in-person vote and the mail-in ballot is to certify that there are absolutely zero errors. If there are, the errors need to be resolved. And as of today, July 12, 2022, the error has not been resolved by the Nevada County Elections Office. Two ways can cause errors in the 1%, and they are broken chain of custody with the ballots, which will equate to human error and can be found through an audit. The second is a technical machine error, which is more complicated effort and still needs to be conducted. Both are reasons for the 1% in-person manual tally to have failed. Again, the whole point of this accuracy test is to validate the accuracy of the method of voting by the voters. Nevada County Elections Office failed this test, even if it's one ballot, it failed. That's a huge percentage. Because there is a concerted effort going forward with all elections now and in the future via the Nevada County Republican Election Integrity Effort and the California Republican Election Integrity Effort, we have to wonder about past elections and the accountability for accuracy, transparency, and validity, as this office constantly states. This is why the election integrity effort of the GOP is concerned about the discrepancies and accuracies and holding the clerk elections office responsible. They need to figure out where this one ballot went, and they have not been able to do so. Every vote counts, and every tally, however it may be, counts as well, and they failed their test. That's it for my comment. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, board.
Thank you, Heather. Okay, is there any other public comment?
We do have one more caller.
Okay, let's take this other caller.
Can we bring the next caller in, please?
Good afternoon, or good morning.
Good morning, Matthew Coulter, Nevada County.
Good morning.
The trial. Good morning. sitting through the trial at Nevada County Courthouse when there was the incident at the door at the elections office and a citizen was giving a restraining order.
Do you want to talk
Disturbing,
about the
to say the
certification
least.
of the certification?
I do.
Okay.
I do, because I'm concerned about who the county is hiring, who they're authorizing to do these things, because when someone under oath says that they have PTSD, depression, all these serious medical conditions, I'm concerned that we're hiring people and there isn't any way to check them, because I've talked with HR, Human Resources for Nevada County, multiple times about certain people. They say they'll get back to me. No one ever does. And these are serious offenses, right? So I'm in there face to face, filling out things, filling out papers. No one ever gets back to me. So when Greg says, come on in the office and let's talk about these things, that's as far as it goes. It's not going to go anywhere else, even if there is a discrepancy, even if somebody's doing something completely serious. There's no oversight. It just falls through the holes. You know, the majority of people in Nevada County don't even know where the root center is, don't even know where their police departments are. They just hope that their government's going to function behind the scenes as intended. But obviously, it's not, and very far from it. And it really needs to be looked at seriously. And you guys are the guys, unfortunately, the Board of Supervisors. I mean, Shannon Moon's the highest elected official. You're under her, right, for Nevada County? So who do we go to as county people to air our complaints? Because it only takes a few vocal citizens to make change. It's unfortunate that the person that's retiring after 23 years working for the government doesn't understand that. Really sad that there's people working for the county that don't understand that the government belongs to the people and not the people sitting on the podium there. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. Is there any other public comment on item 36? Okay, then I'm going to close public comment. And then, Greg, I just want you to clarify the 1%. Just clarify that for everyone.
Clarify the process or
Right.
what it is.
Sure.
After each election, the elections official is required to pull 1% of all ballots cast to do a manual recount of those ballots and match them up with the machine count that we produced after scanning all the ballots. The 1% must include every contest on all ballot types that we issued throughout the county. And we keep on pulling precincts until we can account for every single contest that was on all ballot types. So Measure U up in Truckee, we had to pull a couple more precincts until we pulled the precinct that actually had Measure U on the ballot. Once we did our random draw, once all contests are accounted for, then we're going to recount those ballots. In this situation, we had 446 ballots we had to count. One of the in-person ballots, those in-person ballots get scanned at the vote center. They don't come back to the Root Center for central scanning. A lot of people come to our vote centers, they fill out the ballot, and then they scan the ballot. One of those scanned ballots we just could not find. So we counted 445 ballots. We had no variances. And I made a comment on our certification sheet that we could not locate one ballot in CP 34. For transparency's sake, something I really didn't have to do, but I just did it because there's people in the room, there's a whole board, and we like to be transparent with our results. That's the 1% audit.
Okay, great. And then one other question, let's just clarify, what happens with the provisional ballots? That was the other Just clarify how that
We don't have
works.
too many provisional ballots since we have vote centers, but basically, they're going to count or not count. The reasons they won't count is the person has already voted, which happens a lot. The person is not a Nevada County resident, okay? And provisionals come in late, ballots come in late, and those can't count.
Those
So
can count?
They will not count. Right,
Okay.
right. So that's what a provisional ballot is, and we just don't get a lot of them. When we had polling places, a polling place will only have one ballot type. People would assume that their ballot type would be available at any polling place. That's not the case. So with polling place elections, we would have maybe 1,800 to 2,000 provisionals because people went and got the wrong ballot type, okay? We would have to dupe that ballot because we would count the contests the voter is eligible to vote on, but we wouldn't count the contests the voter is not eligible to vote on. I hope I'm not getting down too deep in the weeds
No,
here.
this is good
Okay.
information. I mean, because I think that's one of the questions too. If you went in and you asked for your provisional ballot and then you were told that, you know, and that you'd already voted, how do you manage
Well,
that?
at the vote center now, we have each and every ballot type at each and every vote center. So we're always going to be able to produce the correct ballot for the voter, meaning there won't be any provisionals. I mean, I remember our last polling place election, I think we had around 1,800 provisionals. Our first vote center election, I had 7, because we have all ballot types at the vote center. That's the beauty of the vote center. We don't have to say no to anyone. You're going to get the correct ballot when you come in.
Okay.
So most out-of-county people will come. Those are provisionals. And a lot of people will vote their vote by mail. Perhaps they forgot, I don't know. They come in. We see that they already voted. They will still insist upon a ballot. We'll give them the ballot, but it will be marked as a provisional ballot because we know the voter already voted.
So do you measure those or do you have to check those?
Those provisionals?
Yeah. Do you have to check that
Sure,
against the
we-
one that came in? That's what you do?
No, we don't check. We know the voter sent in a ballot, and that ballot has probably already been scanned and processed.
And you've checked
The
the
second
signature on
ballot-
that, right? So that's what you're going by. It's already been,
Absolutely.
it's already been approved.
It's already been extracted from the envelope, and we check the signature that's affixed to the envelope. That's part of the VBM, vote by mail process, yeah. So if we see a second ballot, we just make a notation that this is a provisional ballot and it won't count because the voter already voted.
And that's already been confirmed that that other mail-in is theirs.
Correct.
That's probably one of the big
Correct.
questions I hear. Dan, you have a question?
Yeah, Greg,
Yeah.
when you're comparing signatures
Yeah.
and you have a signature that doesn't really match
Yeah.
to what you have on record, do you notify that voter and ask them to verify?
Yeah, we have software, so envelopes will go through our software. Approximately 50% get accepted, and we will go and manually check around 50%. If we do not have a match, we send an email, we send a letter, and we extend the time for a voter to cure the problem to 2 days before we think we're going to certify. We had the election on June 7th. Voters had until June 27th to come into the office to certify. And they don't even have to come into the office. The letter we send them, there's actually a piece of paper. If they could affix their signature to that and mail it back to us, we consider that to be a cure of the ballot as well. We've driven out to homes sometimes for people, and there are many situations, and we'll go and we'll just get their signature. So we make every effort to cure these ballots.
I guess what bothers me, this has become a national trend. And it's come down to the local level now where it's easy to make accusations, but no one supports what you're being accused of. And I have confidence that your office has been doing this correctly, that there's no systemic problem. But again, there's no way to, how do I say, push back against erroneous accusations that come your way. And it's unfortunate that it's happening, but it's at our level now. And, and I appreciate the explanation, and you're taking the time to come here and explain this to us. Thank you.
No, my pleasure, and that's just the landscape of elections these days.
Well-
But we're always transparent. The CEO was grateful enough to install a large window for us. More people can observe. And I just encourage people to come into the office and look for yourself. And the folks we employ, folks have been coming in for 9, 10 years now, good folks, and they want to do a good job. No one in the office wants to do a bad job. No one in the office wants to corrupt an election. We always work in pairs, and we have experience. All these pairs have oversight. And again, you're welcome into the office to look at the safeguards, to look at the process, and to watch these good people do good work, and they have for many years.
Any other questions? Oh, Ed?
Greg, I appreciate you being here too and explaining some of this. And since you are here.
Yes, sir.
I tend to hear, when my husband died many years ago, and he continues to get a ballot, how do you determine a person that you have missed on that roll and that they have died or they've left and a mail-in comes in under their name? I mean, how do you stop that?
Yeah, right now, for example, we received, I think, almost 7,000 undeliverables. We're working every single one of these undeliverables, and we put a notation in their file. If, in fact, we have proof that they're out of county, we make a notation there, and after 4 years, we're going to send them a card. They could actually write to me wanting to be taken off the rolls, and we'll do so. But if not, we just do voter residency cards, and they're mailed to all these folks. If we return them, get a return, those folks are going to be marked active voters. If nothing comes back to the office, they're inactive voters. They need to be inactive for 2 federal elections. We will then send yet another residency card. If that doesn't come back, then we can purge that voter from the records. It's very hard, actually, to get someone off the rolls. When folks pass away, when they move, unfortunately, notifying the elections office is not on the top of their to-do list. And
So as a spouse, though, is that spouse able to call in and say, hey, my husband passed away, or vice versa?
No, well, they can call in, but that won't prompt any action.
That's kind of the
But if they
problem,
come in with their certified copy of the death certificate, that person will be removed immediately.
Okay.
And that documentation is in fact scanned and will be part of the voter record explaining why that person was taken off.
Okay.
Everything gets documented in the office. Very time consuming.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hardy, anything?
No, thanks. I appreciate it. I think one of the callers was talking about, these are big numbers, but they're actually not big numbers. I did the math, 99.78% accuracy over the total election process.
Yes.
In my opinion. It's about as good as it gets in my math, the consideration of the math I use. So thank you for your service and appreciate it.
Thank you.
Heidi, did you want to make comment?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I want to thank you, Greg, for your service all these years, and I'm sorry for some of the stuff you've had to deal with these last couple years. And let's be clear, the 2020 election was legitimate. And these specious attacks against elections offices across the country are coming from the big lie that it was not.
Yes.
It is disappointing, beyond disappointing, that it has come to this county and that people are bringing unsupported attacks to question the integrity of our government institutions. This is a growing danger to our democracy, and I will be speaking out about it whenever I see it. I'm sure if people have legitimate issues, as Mr. Diaz has said, bring them into the office. I'm sure Ms. Adona will do the same thing when she takes office. Come in, address those issues one at a time, and they will be addressed. And if there's a real complaint, it will be taken up.
Correct.
Thank you so much for all your years of service,
Thank you.
and I hope your last few months are less eventful.
Me too. Thank you.
Okay, with that, Greg, I want to thank you too. Thank you for answering the
Thank you, Chair.
questions. I want to be clear, it's great. You have a policy, folks can call you, come in, make an appointment,
Oh, yeah.
look at these issues, and you guys can go over that process.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. That's always one of the things I think people don't understand, that this is really transparent operations here at the county. So I want to thank you again for being here today, and with that, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
I'll
Second.
Moved and seconded by Miller and Hall. Julie, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, thank you. District 3?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 4?
District 4, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Greg. Okay, we are going to move on to item 38, which is a resolution approving a contract between the County of Nevada and Nevada County Superintendent of Schools. And I'm happy to have Phoebe Bell here this morning. And she's going to do a presentation.
Good morning, Chair Hook and members of the board. Thanks so much for having us here today. Phoebe Bell, Behavioral Health Director, and I have with me Eli Gallup, who's the Assistant Superintendent of Special Education and the SELPA for Nevada County Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you.
I got that all right?
Yep, you got it all.
So we're here today to talk about a contract renewal that we have with the schools, but wanted to give you a little bit of background on it. As you know, there's a lot of concern about children and youth mental health issues. This pre-existed the pandemic, but certainly has grown over the last couple of years. And so a few years ago, a grant opportunity became available to apply for some funds to support mental health services in the schools. We approached the superintendent of schools office, and they were extremely interested, and we partnered together and were successful in receiving about $2.5 million to be used over 4 years to bring services to the schools. We, in discussions with the schools, there was a real feeling of we've got to reach children at a younger age. Teachers often know early on when a child's struggling at a very young age, and it may show up initially with behaviors that are hard to manage in the classroom, but that may be the beginnings of what could become more serious mental health issues down the road. And so the schools really said, let's focus this work at our elementary schools. These are the ones that we think would be a great fit. And I think the schools did a phenomenal job designing what's really turned out to be a very innovative and creative approach to how to approach sort of the ever-growing demand for better mental health services and supports in the schools. And so Eli's going to talk a little bit about exactly what we're doing with the funding, and then we'll give you a few more comments.
Great. Well, thank you, Phoebe. So just a brief update on what a board-certified behavior analysis does. The way I kind of frame it is if behavior were a coin, one side is the counselors and therapists, and their specialty is focusing on the internal dialogue, helping people and students be motivated to change on their own. What a behaviorist does is they modify the environment to help facilitate that change. So if you're hungry and you love ice cream, but you have no ice cream in your house, that's a behaviorist approach. So what I'm really kind of getting at is by having BCBAs and mental health therapists on our campus, we're able to support a lot more students at a lot younger age who may not typically benefit from cognitive-based therapy. So it's a real boon to our schools to have both opportunities on there. Some of the benefits that we've been really seeing is allowing each school district to have some local control about how they use these registered behavior technicians and board-certified behavior analysts. For example, at the Grass Valley schools, they're using them as training mechanisms to train all their other paraeducators on best practices in behavior. At a school at Alta Sierra and Pleasant Ridge, they're focusing on one individual student who had extreme behavioral outbursts, and with this support has been able to re-engage in their classroom and really focus on task demands with a better understanding about how to regulate his own behavior. And so before, the staff and students were literally sometimes chasing these students around the play field. Now the students are able to take a break, enjoy it, and come back in a few minutes and re-engage in the classroom successfully and quietly to allow the teacher to focus on all the students and educating the whole group. So throughout this grant, really what we're looking at is the schools are able to provide preventative strategies, and just as Phoebe was saying, to support mental wellness. This also allows us, this grant, to support general education students as well as special education. This service that we're typically speaking of is only, for the most part, available to students with special needs, because it's so expensive that school districts can't afford to pay for this service just for general education, whereas they're required to for special education. So we're seeing a real benefit in the general education side as well as the special education side. Some of the ancillary benefits that we've been seeing is we've created a much closer partnership with Nevada County Behavioral Health. We meet with our team and their team quarterly at the minimum. We share information about best practices. We share information about local resources. A challenge in our school setting typically is what's available outside the school day? How do we make sure our staff on the ground, on campuses, have a better understanding and a direction to point parents to? And through this grant program, we have that information now. It's available at all of our sites. Many of our districts and staff have that understanding to quickly provide those opportunities to students and families. It's a really wonderful area. I'm just quickly going over our notes. Yeah, and lastly, what I really appreciate working with Phoebe and her team is through this process, we're creating a more systemic, consistent program across the county. As you probably know, many of our families move within county frequently. It's by having a systemic practice where, say, a 7-year-old student is understanding the behavioral rules of the road, so to speak, they're going to be quickly able to better integrate into the new school setting and feel successful and quickly develop friends, rather than be seen as, I don't understand the rules, I keep on getting in trouble, and I don't know why. So this has been a great opportunity, and I really appreciate Phoebe and her team in providing this opportunity and grant support.
Thanks, Eli. And again, the creativity that our local schools showed in how to impact the most students possible in a different way, instead of hiring 2 or 3 therapists, hiring this broad array of behavioral technicians to embed in lots of different classes and really change school culture and give more tools to teachers as well as students is super exciting. And I think, you know, we meet as a part of a collaborative with other counties that got this funding, and people are really impressed by what's happening here and what we're getting done. So one more piece of good news is due to the ongoing focus on growing demand for children and youth mental health needs, more funding was made available, and so we, again, in partnership with the schools, applied for more funding and received an additional $674,000 for this project. So we will be coming back to you with that new grant award for approval, and then probably with a amendment to the contract that's in front of you today as we add those funds into the existing program. And the goal with that new funding is to expand to the middle schools as well. And again, just really, it's exciting to see state resources supporting what we know at a local level is schools are a great place to reach children and youth and where they need a lot of support. And if we can find funding like this that allows us to serve all children, regardless of what their insurance status is or their special needs status, anything else, it does the most benefit to the most kids. So it's a super exciting program. And so in front of you today is the renewal of our contract with the Superintendent of Schools office for this fiscal year for that component of the grant. And really all the grant dollars funnel through us into the schools. That is essentially what we're purchasing with the grant dollars. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
Oh, that was great. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Eli. I love the fact that this is one of those funds where you can actually use it in a county where it fits. You know, so sometimes we're so stuck where funding has to go, and this shows the creativity that can come with reaching out to many, many different situations. I'm really excited about this program. I think this is a real step in the right direction for the schools. So thank you for your work on that, Eli. I'm going to open it up to my board. Hardy, you have anything?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Fully supportive. It's a huge need, particularly post-COVID, and congratulate you for rolling it out so quickly and serving 29 kids right off the bat. I know that in Eastern County, Placer County is our authorizing jurisdiction for our schools, but I didn't see any Truckee schools on this list. Just wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the programs we have there for kids.
Yeah, so this was one of those projects that had to run through the superintendent of schools of the county. And so Tahoe Truckee Unified being under Placer Superintendent of Schools, their opportunity to participate in this program came on the Placer side. I don't believe they participated in the first round of funding, but I do believe they have some opportunity in the second round of funding that's coming to Tahoe Truckee Unified specifically. But TTUSD has similar and different approaches. For example, the wellness centers that have expanded to the middle schools are different than what's happening down here. I think there's a higher number of school psychologists in the TTUSD schools due to the Measure A funding that they have. There's some different pieces look a little different in how they work in the two jurisdictions.
Understood, yeah, thank you. The one piece, do we have a way that our, the two school districts connect or communicate on, well, for example, this opportunity is a great example of that. You have this, but maybe somebody in Placer County isn't necessarily connected to the same funding stream. Do we within Nevada County communicate directly on activities like this, understanding that we serve the county as a whole, but yet Placer County is the sponsoring jurisdiction for our schools in Eastern County?
Yeah, so we reached out to TTUSD because we
Okay.
have close working relationships with them and talked to Jeff Santos about it, who's a little bit, not exactly your counterpart, but, you know,
Yeah.
does a similar function for the school district up there. And what I recall, and I can go back and look at my emails, but they weren't particularly interested in this opportunity at that point in time a few years ago when this first rolled out. But we made them aware that you would want to connect with
Perfect, thank you.
Placer County.
Yeah, and the other piece is, we're getting ready to move into our fall Heart of Gold gravel ride. It's a benefit for teen mental wellness, and look forward to working with you more on the future in that. And I think we had a loose partnership associated with the schools last year, but this year would be great to strengthen that and fortify it and do anything we can to work together, so.
Okay, Ed?
Well, I don't have any questions. I think it's a great program. It's interesting you mentioned the Alta Sierra situation with one child, and I have had experience, not necessarily at the school level, but with youth groups where one person disrupts everything as far as the learning goes. And it's not so easy to, you can't force a child like that. You can't threaten them. It doesn't work. And at least in the case that I know of, the kid's not stupid. These kids are smart. So I think this is a wonderful program. I'd like to know just really what you're doing to make it work, because myself personally didn't work. But thank you so much for what you're doing. I've actually talked to teachers that speak even below this level. As I'm sure you know, Eli, that issue is there below this elementary level here. So really appreciate and good to know that there are steps being taken to maybe get a better grip on what's happening right there in the schoolroom. So thank you, Eli. Thank you, Phoebe.
Dan?
Yeah, I know this will probably surprise everybody, but, my mental health provider had an oak paddle in 7th grade, and I think Mr. Hogue pinned me up against the wall in 6th grade. Yeah, that was my introduction to mental health. But it's a great program for elementary age kids. I mean, there's just a lot going on in their lives. There's a lot going on by way of media, and so I appreciate the fact that we have this program and this money to certainly help them. It would probably help me years ago.
Heidi?
Thank you. Yeah, this is great. It's the kind of thing you look at and say, why didn't we have this 5 years ago or 10 years ago? And I guess we had to wait for a grant opportunity is that right, for someone at the state level or the federal level to figure out that we needed this. Just a couple of questions about, like, on the ground, how it actually works.
Sure.
You said 8 people and it looks like 8 schools. Are you placing one person in each school
Yeah, absolutely.
permanently, like all day?
Absolutely. So what we've done is the board certified behavior analysis, we've created a training program. And what we've learned is the best applicants are our pre-existing paraeducators or instructional aides. Because what they've shown and what we've seen is we need somebody who has the right attitude, because if they're going to be reactive in, say, a behavioral fire and run around in circles, that's not going to help the students. So we want to pick applicants who already have an existing track record of being calm in a crisis. And then what we do is we train those existing staff members with highly specialized information to become a registered behavior technician under the guidance of a board-certified behavior analysis. So what we've done is we have identified the schools. Those schools themselves have said, here are the applicants that we want to put forward. And we keep on calling them applicants until they actually pass that test, until they show that they are competent to be released and be semi-independent. I say semi-independent because each of those RBT applicants is directly supervised by the BCBAs on a weekly basis. So the BCBAs are providing that direct instruction and oversight, providing that recommendations of the service delivery and the plan about how to support a student, and the RBTs are implementing the plan. So there's frequent oversight and supports by the BCBAs to make sure the RBTs are following the instructions to the T.
And are RBTs, that's their name?
Yep.
Okay, and are the RBTs then doing this full-time? Are they having to do this on top of their other job?
No, so what we did
So
is
they
we
switch out.
Yeah, exactly. We supplanted them. So we're paying the districts through this grant for this instructional aid, or their RBT, excuse me, and then that district has the opportunity to backfill that same position.
Okay, fabulous. And then they're going to be able to send referrals to the county if need be, or, but they're also, it sounds like they're there for anybody who needs it. It's not like only people who can't afford it, or it's for any issue that comes up in the school at the time.
And that's the real benefit of this program.
Yeah.
Whereas prior to this, it would be only if you had a student with a disability or an
Right.
IEP. And because through the grant, we're able to provide it to anybody, any students on campus. And so it's a real boon to the whole educational community.
And is it something that they could like do group, they could decide to do some group discussions or education
Somewhat.
activities as well, or is it just individual?
Well, it's more individual because when you look at the function of a behaviorist, they're shaping the behavior, whereas a counselor, they would have that small group. But what can happen, though, is a behaviorist can help the student be more engaged in that counseling group. Here's how you stay focused. Here's how you stay attentive to the group so you're not running around in circles, being disruptive to the others.
This sounds so great. I would love to have you guys come back after a year or so and give us some success stories, which I'm sure there will be.
We love it. We would love to. It's
Yeah,
fun.
fantastic. Thank you.
Nice. Dan, you had another question?
Yeah, what are the, how do I say this? What are the signs that a student needs help, and who makes the call to bring in a mental health specialist?
Sure. So really what it starts with is at the teacher level, teacher or even parent level. So the teacher sees a student who is not struggling, or who is struggling, and typically as a result of a behavior. Most things in education are a function of the behavior. So you can imagine a student is not doing their homework because they're disengaged for some other reason. So the teacher then would call a meeting with the parents. They would try some low-level interventions. It's called a student study team or a child study team. Usually it's a short-term intervention, 4 to 6 weeks. If that's unsuccessful, then they move to the next level. And this now is a newly created next level of having these RBTs. And so with that next level then comes, we're going to dedicate this RBT to the individual student or to, say, the class at large to provide that instructional support to the teacher. Because without the RBT, the teacher is now trying to engage that one student as well as teach the other 29 students in the program. So that RBT is now embedded into that classroom. The RBT works with the student directly to address the behavior, and then really what they do, and the purpose is to train the other adults in the classroom those same skills that have already been proven to be effective so they can leave and then go support another student in another classroom. Did that answer your question, Dan?
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, this is really interesting. This is great.
Can I have one quick follow-up on
You
that
sure
too?
can.
So, but students can come in themselves too, right? If they feel like they're in crisis, they can just
Absolutely.
refer themselves to the RBT.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
I love the flexibility. This is really what we've been looking for in a lot of programs.
Yeah.
So this is great. Well, with that, I'm going to open public comment. Julie, do we have anything written or anybody online?
We do have one caller, Chair.
Okay, well, let's take that caller.
Yes, thank you. Can bring the caller in, please.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Chair. Matthew Coulter, Nevada County. When I hear these programs being put in the schools where the children are basically a captive audience with a lot of highly educated folks. And then we're still in the same boat where we have no youth center for the kids to go to, like during the summer or after school. And I did talk with Neo, and Neo's not moving out on McCourtney, which is great. And that whole thing, I guess, has been scrapped, even though it sounded like you were all in support of it. But access for the kids to have a place to go. For example, Thursday night market is just 50, 60 kids, no place to go, but they want to meet. So they keep moving around, lots of police calls, as well as the amount of suicides and attempted suicides and such for the children right after school ended. It was really pretty intense there for a couple of weeks. So again, a senior center, a youth center, a community center where the kids can gather and be part of the community versus this us and them kind of mentality that I hear throughout this whole conversation of like, we're going to do something for them. And my mom was a special ed teacher for years, and the kids that you're talking about were kids that used to be the teachers would kick out of the classroom, and they'd all end up in one disorganized classroom that they used to call special ed. But now they don't move them to a separate classroom, but now you move the teacher between the classrooms, which is great. But I'm afraid of the inaction by the parents also, and that's the problem the police have, is that a lot of the kids have no parental action. Some of them are homeless. Some of them are living in cars. Some of them are running their own home. So it's difficult for the parents to take the time to be engaged with the school system when there's this huge gap in our community that doesn't offer anything for these kids to be part of the community after hours away from school. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Any other callers, Julie?
No, that was it. Thank you, Chair.
No other public comment from the chamber, so we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for any final comments. Yeah, I think Heidi, want anything?
Make a motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Julie, can you call the roll?
That was quick. District 3?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 4?
District 4, yes. Okay. Oh, I don't shut it off. There we go. Okay, so with this, we're going to take a little 5-minute break, and then we'll be back for item 39 and 40. It will just be about 5 minutes. all
Okay.
back here from our little break. Thank you for your patience. And we're going to start right off with item 39, which is a resolution approving execution of a contract with Nevada, oh, nope, that's not. Forgot to turn the page.
With Bevmo?
I know, no, we're going to go with, I'm going to introduce Craig Griesbach, and there's Paul Cummings here today for a resolution accepting the League of California Community Foundation's Disaster Relief, Recovery, and Resilience Funds. Say that fast 3 times.
Well, yeah, it is still morning. Good morning, Chair Hook and members of the board. Craig Griesbach, Director of Emergency Services for Nevada County. Also joining us online for this presentation to address any questions is Jessica Carr, who's the Director at the Sierra Business Council. As you know, there's a great need to take proactive measures and find resources to help mitigate and prepare for the threat of wildfire throughout our community. Following the December winter storms, this became even a greater need. Over the last several months, staff have been working closely with the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, discussing resource opportunities to address needs related to the high volume of debris and vegetation from those winter storms. On April 8th, staff applied for disaster relief, recovery, and resiliency funds through the League of Community Foundations. This grant is to fund the Nevada County Firewise Community Storm Debris Response Microgrant Program. On June 8th, we received a notice of intent to award from the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. The projected time frame for grant implementation, if accepted by your board today, would be July through October of this year. The Firewise Communities Microgrant Program will fund $3,600 microgrants to 26 Firewise community in both eastern and western communities. We have designed this program to have a streamlined and simplified application review and award process for expedient implementation. We are proposing to contract with the Sierra Business Council to help implement this program due to their familiarity with similar programming, as well as their connection throughout our community. The microgrants may fund collaborative projects organized by applicable communities, including but not limited to renting equipment, contracting for vegetation transportation, and partnership with contractors. This grant program provides many opportunities, including helping address private property ingress and egress routes, helping diversify our approach and tackle preparedness and mitigation from all angles, builds on the work many of our communities are already doing, is a great test for similar programming as future resources are gained. And as Paul Cummings would say, this acts as a force multiplier to new and existing resources. With that, I'd now like to introduce Paul Cummings, who is the program manager for the Office of Emergency Services, for more information about Firewise communities.
Good morning, Chair Hook, honorable board members. Like Craig said, these Firewise communities, they are a force multiplier, right? We know that we couldn't do a lot of the things that we're doing right now to mitigate that fire threat if it wasn't for those Firewise communities. So that's where this grant's going to focus. And we wanted to use this opportunity to just talk a little bit about the Firewise communities. I mean, as you know, our office works closely with them. We've recently hired a wildfire coordinator, Alessandra Zambrano, who will be working directly with the Firewise communities. We have our DSI team led by Mr. Roger Tucker, as you have worked with him on a few of the DSI cases before, works very closely with the Firewise communities, and so they're a major partner for OES. So big picture, Nevada counties, as you know, always fighting for that first place position with the other counties for most Firewise communities. We have a very engaged public, a very engaged residents around the fire mitigation topic. So we have 68 Firewise communities throughout Nevada County. These communities are recognized by CAL FIRE, the National Fire Protection Agency, so there's a vetting system that the Fire Safe Council partners with us on as we develop these communities and we continue to grow. They have annual requirements to recertify, so every 5 years they have to conduct a risk assessment. Every 3 years they have to conduct a community action plan. And we're always trying to find ways to invest in these communities because, again, they're the ones that are out there actually getting that work done. They collaborate with each other. We've already mentioned they collaborate with our office. They're working through the Coalition of Firewise Communities, which is kind of a bigger umbrella group that brings them all together to find that collaboration. And again, we're trying to find ways with our wildfire coordinator to have more coordination. Slide, please. So just looking at the map, it's easy to see that this really represents where all the people are, most of the people are, and this is where these communities have formed. And I encourage the public, if you're interested in starting a Firewise community, reach out to our office, reach out to the Fire Safe Council. These communities are great places to volunteer your time. They're great places to make your community safer. Next slide, please. So before you today, we have two resolutions. The first is to accept the funds from the League of California Community Foundations Disaster Relief. And then second would be approving a professional services contract between the County of Nevada and the Sierra Business Council for the grant management for that $100,000 grant value. That concludes our presentation. We have the slide here with all the different agencies involved, and we're just real excited to inject some money into the community and get after some of that winter storm debris that some residents are still living with this in the middle of the fire season.
That's fantastic. I mean, I'm ever impressed as I drive around and get to meet some of the folks that are working in these Firewise communities and the work that they are doing. And it just like was this morning listening to the gal from out at Scotts Flat, you know, looking at egress and egress. And this is kind of one of those things that may help with some of that vegetation if they apply for this. So, I mean, it's just, it is refreshing as a struggle as we go, but then to see the community engage in what we're doing. And I appreciate all the work that you do and the education, because you guys are out there all the time. They just had a great one out at, was it Great You Bet? You guys were all out there, amazing. CAL FIRE was there. You know, those activities that you guys keep promoting keeps people motivated to be in fire safe. So thanks for all you guys are doing in your office. Appreciate that. Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Let's start with you, Heidi.
Thank you. Yeah, this is excellent. The more, the merrier. First, congratulations to Craig. It's very exciting to have you in that position and to be getting a more robust OES. I think it's going to be really great. And yeah, I've had the opportunity to be out to a couple of Firewise community meetings and on a couple of Zoom ones lately. They are really getting sophisticated, doing a tremendous amount of great work. So anything we can do to support them. And I just want to throw out, I think, two needs I'm still seeing. One of them I think you addressed on here is clearly the need for us to help with some of the private roads that could be connecting points for evacuation routes or that are partial evacuation routes. I'm hearing about that from a number of Firewise communities, and they're going to need some funds and assistance with that. And the second one that's just I'm starting to think about is you see how much work they're doing, and there are, like in my community, there's a leader, and then there's a vice chair, and then there's a bunch of chapter people. Everyone is a volunteer, and the people who are leading the organization are getting burnt out and having trouble finding people to step up and take it on because it's such a huge amount of work. Can we look at giving some stipends or something to those folks who are doing the most work, and maybe just throw that out there as an idea, because it is a ton of work and people are purchasing things out of their own pockets and spending, it sounds like dozens of hours to try to pull things together. So I'd love if we could help out that way too, but everything you're doing is great right now.
Nice, Dan.
No, I'm always grateful to see this type of funding coming forward. I just got some information from someone from PG&E saying that PG&E has identified Grass Valley and Nevada City as their two most dangerous wildfire areas. And their fear is the draws, the Deer Creek and Wolf Creek and, fires coming up there. So, we're on PG&E's list, but, the fact that these Firewise communities are out there with this funding available to them, and they're still working and still improving on what they have, that's a big thing for Nevada County. And what do you mean Nevada County's competitive? I didn't know we were competitive, which we are, because I think that, we're an example to a lot of different counties as far as what we are doing as far as wildfire and Ready Nevada County. And so I congratulate you guys for keep our eye on the ball and moving forward on this, because it's obviously very, very important. So thanks.
Nice. Ed?
Yeah, good job, guys. So 26 agreements will be put together. How many Firewise communities do we have?
So we have 68, and so there's
68.
26 opportunities for the communities.
68.
So it'll be a competitive opportunity where they'll submit their projects, and then it'll be reviewed by county staff. I'm not sure if we have any nonprofits. I think it's just county staff.
County staff and a member from the Firewise Coalition.
One of them being Roger Tucker, in fact, is on the board reviewing that. He's, as you know, been embedded in the community, so he'll have a pretty good perspective on the needs out there.
So this is the selection process, these people you're talking about, not SBC?
Supervisor
Have
Schofield.
I jumped in?
Supervisor Schofield, SBC is doing the administration for processing these applications, but the selection committee are internal staff and that member from the Firewise Coalition.
Okay. And they were limited to 3,600?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, good job. Hope we can take advantage of it in the Alta Sierra area.
Artie?
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. And congratulations, Craig, again. Looking forward to working with you. I was out at UBET Road with Supervisor Hall was there and other people coming through. And thanks for the support from OES. I had a great conversation with Paul and Sean Scales and a bunch of other people. And Trish Tillotson came out and spoke. And it was awesome to see these communities, highly organized. They had speakers speaking and, sound system. And it was really pretty cool to see them organized at that level. One of the things that I was highlighting, and staff helped me, OES department helped me assemble a map with alternative egress points that were currently not developed, but we're kind of looking toward developing them. So again, kind of highlighting your comments that a road to nowhere doesn't help anybody get out, but if we can make even minor connections, it's not perfect, but there's this assembly of all these imperfect solutions that I think in aggregate may help everybody. I think that's what I came away with at the Saturday meeting, was that there is no panacea. There's no silver bullet. It's just a bunch of assembled things that slightly move the needle in the right direction, particularly for communities at the end of the road like that. So I'm a huge supporter of anything we can dedicate to getting alternative egress into those communities, whether it's through private property or not. And I'm committed to helping there as well. And then a shout out to the Firewise communities. Kristen Cook out there is, like you said, she basically has adopted it as her full-time job, and she's got volunteers and people and programs going on. And so my question is there any amount of additional administrative support, and maybe it's already out there from the Fire Safe Council or something, but is there administrative support we can lend to people that are acting in that role?
I heard both of those concerns, supervisors, and that is something we hear from the residents as well. What can we do to support you? We've been talking about things that if we could maybe grow our budget or seek grants, we could probably, through the Fire Safe Council, get more program managers that are specifically focused on like mentoring at a community level. I think the Fire Safe Council does have one. I think Pat Leach is doing that. I have to check with Jamie. But I think they have one person who's really managing the growth and the Firewise communities, but not mentoring, which I think is more what we're looking for, or maybe even task shedding some of the things away from them, whether that be, social media accounts or website maintenance. So if there's things that we can do as a county that could be, broad brush spread across, whether that be maintaining a website or something like that, we're all ears, and we would love to explore those ideas.
Cookie cutter type application. That's great, thank you. Also, is there, and I think the Fire Safe Council is covering this, but is there a tool cache that Firewise communities can borrow to do defensible space work?
I can't speak for the Fire Safe Council. I know they have the tool cache that we saw at UBET to do the controlled burns. They're trying to work with the UBET Bear Burn Co-op to do more of that. I know they were awarded a grant to buy a trailer, but I'd have to circle back with you to see if there's, what kind of tools were you speaking of, sir?
Well, Kristen was telling me about, if they had a tool cache that they could borrow, whether it would be chainsaws, not chippers, but light tools and things like that can help them accomplish their goals.
Sure.
But just a question, maybe the Fire Safe Council. I do know the Fire Safe Council may be looking.
I'm not sure if this grant will cover equipment or not, but.
This grant will cover equipment if they propose that as part of their project, so that would help.
I want to do that. Okay, great, thank you.
And if I could just jump on there, that map that who produced that map for was it?
We met out there the previous Friday, and we took this narrative that the community had given us, and Alex Keeble took these great set of notes, and then we kind of got together and talked about the inevitable outcome of whether these could be successful. We put it on a map, and then what I did is when we were talking to people, we kind of said, hey, what do you think? And they gave us all the anecdotal information. And then Tricia obviously has a backstory related to all of it. The piece is you have to get past all the private property and the bureaucracy and the bias in the past history about why these things didn't work, and you have to open the road to get the cars out. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Is what are we doing to open the road in case of an emergency? And there's all kinds of reasons why it's hard to do, but we have to get past that and just get it done.
Just even the map, I was like, oh my God, to see where the egresses were, where the bottlenecks were, that was phenomenal. If we could produce those for every Firewise community, I mean, I'd love to see one for Cascade Shores. That's right. That's, that would be so great. That map was like all the stuff that's in our head and we're trying to manage in our head, to see it right there. Here's where you would leave. Here's where you can't get out. Here's your alternative place that you can maybe get out. That was really a brilliant product, and I would love to see us help with more of those.
And if I may, Supervisor, we have an evacuation study grant that we got from CAL FIRE that will inform more of the decisions and those choke points and challenges and where do we need turnouts in future maps. So we hope to see that grant implemented over the next few months, and it'll be about a year, but then that study will inform all of this work and those challenges.
That's about a year.
It'll take, I think, about a year for them to work through the whole process.
No, I think that's good too. And I think though, and I am seeing a lot more collaboration inside little communities where folks are giving people a gate key, or they are making plans. And I just have to commend the public. They're really working and invested in what we're doing here. And again, I think it's the work that you guys are putting out there that keeps everybody really motivated. And of course, a fire doesn't hurt. That kind of spurs your inclination to get things done. And I just want to thank you, because I really do think this is great. And then I really want to put a shout out to the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation for allowing us to apply for this, and then for us receiving it. So thank you for them. And then again, I think it's always helpful to have Sierra Business Council manage the contracts as they go out. I mean, we manage that, but it's a big undertaking. So really appreciate that. So with that, I'm going to go to public comment. Julie, do we have any written public comment?
No written, and there's no callers online right now, Chair.
Okay, so there's nobody in the chamber for public comment this afternoon, so I'll go back one more time to see if somebody calls in. Julie, I'll give it a second.
Yes, we are screening someone right now, so it'll be just a moment.
Okay, is the caller on? You're still screening them?
Still in the screening process. It just
Okay,
takes
yeah,
a
we'll
moment.
just wait a little bit. It's okay.
They hung up, so no caller right now.
Okay, well, with that, then we will close public comment and come back to the board for any last comments. Okay? No, go ahead. Who wants to make a comment? Hardy?
No comment.
Okay, so we have two items here that we're going to do. We have item 39 and 40, and we'll vote on them individually. So the first item we're going to be on is item 39, which was a resolution accepting the League of California Community Foundation's Disaster Relief Fund, and I would entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Moved?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Julie, could you call the roll? Sorry, Ed.
Sorry.
So who moved and who seconded?
So Heidi moved.
Come on, stay
and-
with us, Julie.
Heidi moved and Hardy seconded.
No, Hardy moved
Hardy
it.
moved.
Hardy moved and Heidi
seconded.
seconded, I mean.
Okay, District 3,
Yes.
District 1.
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
and District 4.
And District 4 is yes. Okay, now we'll go to item 40, which was the resolution approving the professional services contract between the county and Sierra Business Council for the grant management of this $100,000. I will entertain a motion from Ed.
Absolutely, I so move.
Moved by Ed,
Second.
seconded by Hardy. It's been moved and seconded. Julie, could you call the roll?
Yes, District 3.
Yes.
District 1.
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
And District 4.
District 4, yes. Okay, that was great. Thank you for being here with it's really such good news to see we keep moving forward in this direction.
Chair Hook, there seems to be an issue with the televised stream. Can we take a few minutes break while I
We
talk to
can't
staff?
do that because our next item is a timed item, and that won't be till 11:45, so we will be taking a little break now,
Oh,
till
we could-
11:45. If they get it fixed, we'll do announcements, but in the meantime, we're gonna take a break.
Okay, thank you.
Want to read us out, and then we'll be back for our 11:45 timed event, or timed, this is a timed event, all right?
Yes, glad to do that. So our closed session is 220850, and as stated in the agenda, this is related to closed session for negotiation for our parcel numbers as listed. The address is 10793 Hirschdale Road in Truckee, California, and the negotiators and the properties are all as listed in the agenda.
Okay, thank you. So we will go into closed session, and we will be back. Kit, will you read us back in, please?
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, we got a little echo.
Thank you.
Did we get it? Did we get it? Nope, it's not fixed. Nope, it's not fixed. Are we fixed? Are we fixed? Nope, nope. Let me know. Let me know. Back, live. Nope, I'm still echoing. Nope. Okay, there, it cleared up. Perfect. So Kit, could you please read us back in? Did we already do that? No.
Yes.
Oh, we did.
No,
Okay.
no,
No, you
I
didn't.
have not.
Okay, yeah,
So yes, I will. Regarding the closed session item 220850, authorization was given to negotiate pursuant to the information on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Well, now we're on to our timed item today with our probation department, item 41. And today's about a proclamation declaring the week of July 17th through the 23rd, 2022 as Probation Services Week. And we're so happy to have you all here. This is great. So come on up, Jeff.
Chief.
Chief, sorry.
Grab one more chair.
Perfect. I know, that's great. So happy to have you here today.
All right. Good morning, Chair Hook and distinguished members of the board. As you said, I'm Jeff Goldman, Nevada County's Chief Probation Officer. As next week is Probation Supervision Week, I'd like to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of the members of the Nevada County Probation Department. So I want to start by telling a little bit about what we do, and then we have a few guests here with us that are also going to tell about some of the work that we do. So probation officers work every day to supervise justice-involved individuals in our community, but also to assist individuals securing housing, finding jobs, and enrolling in treatment. Every day in Nevada County, 22 sworn probation officers, along with non-sworn support staff, probation assistants, and others, promote public safety by conducting court sentencing investigations, supervising adult and juvenile clients, and by increasing their competency and holding them accountable for their actions. And over the years, our approach has changed. We used to just kind of pick people up, dust them off, and send them back down on the road. And now we try to work with them, their families, the community, to make sure they have the supports they need to be productive members of the community. We work in partnership with other departments such as CPS, behavioral health, and more, which you'll most likely hear a little bit more about when a former client, Nicole Carmen, will tell her story. Probation officers realize that most individuals that go to jail or prison will be released back to their communities. They understand that the individuals we provide services to are a part of the community, that they are moms, dads, brothers, sisters. They are many times people that have experienced some intense trauma in their lives. Officers know for them to successfully re-enter the community that they need to be accountable for the harm that they have done to the community, while at the same time providing them with the tools that they need to be successful in the community. This is not an easy task, and yet the highly skilled and motivated officers of the Nevada County Probation Department efforts make me proud to be a part of the department. Community corrections is a worldwide phenomenon that is supported by services working to keep citizens safe. Modern probation began back in 1841 and is now the most common form of criminal sentence for adults or juveniles. By collaborating with community leaders and volunteering their own time off work, many officers are making a difference while faced with expanding roles. So that officers can manage their ever-expanding roles, they are relying on evidence-based practices. These are approaches and interventions that have been scientifically tested in controlled studies and proven effective to not only reduce offending among probation populations, but also enhances public safety and helps mitigate the high costs of potentially ineffective approaches. Nevada County currently supervises over 400 adult and juveniles that have been convicted or adjudicated, and around 100 pretrial clients that are pending the court process. And as I always say, my shtick is always that there are no TV shows or movies about probation officers, and most kids don't dress as probation officers for Halloween. Nonetheless, probation is the linchpin of the criminal justice system from intake to reentry. We try and restore the harm individuals have caused to the community, while at the same time bringing them back as a part of that same community they have harmed. And here in Nevada County, our staff, just recently having gone to a chief's quarterly meeting, each time I come back, I always tell them how happy I am to be working in Nevada County, because the meetings contain, individuals complaining about staff retention and staff getting on board with new initiatives and that sort of thing, and we don't really have that issue here in Nevada County. The staff are all in. People tend to stay for long periods of time and don't leave for other counties or other positions. And I think a lot of that has to do with, and it's a difficult, and as some of you have said, some of the stuff that we do is not intuitive to how you think things might play out in the system, because how things are ingrained historically and how we have approached the criminal justice system. But, we do things that we know work, and we know work and are cost saving. And, if it doesn't, then we make course adjustments as we go. But for the most part, staff are all in because they want to be successful at their jobs, and they want people to make those changes and be back in their community. And given that I haven't done the actual work of a probation officer for several years, I thought it'd be nice to hear from a real live probation officer that does that work on a daily basis. So I brought along Deputy Probation Officer Ben Hertel. He's the sworn staff of the year this year for potentially saving a person's life from a stab wound at the fair this year, among other things. And he's going to give you a brief synopsis on what he thinks it is to be a probation officer. And also I'm going to give a plug. We will be hiring, we rarely hire new probation officers, but we will be soon. So if anyone's interested in becoming a probation officer, we'll have that recruitment out here soon. So.
Well, welcome, Ben.
Thank you all. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about what we do on the daily basis. So we're here today to talk about the department and the work that we do. My name is Ben Hertel, and I'm currently serving as a deputy probation officer supervising juveniles in the juvenile unit. And I work with juveniles and young adults aged 12 to 25 involved with the juvenile justice system. I also supervise individuals involved with the Transitional Age Youth Program, which works with first-time nonviolent adult offenders aged 18 to 25, offering a diversion program upon successful completion. The Nevada County Probation Department protects the community by supporting the courts and fostering positive change in the individuals that we serve. As law enforcement leaders, Nevada County Probation strives to create positive outcomes for individuals and the communities in which they live. The department is full of individuals who care. We strive to be a positive force in the individuals and communities we serve. We work closely with allied agencies, treatment providers, victims of crime, the court, and countless others. We work towards bettering the lives of those involved with the justice system. At the end of the day, we are working with people, often at the lowest points of their lives. Probation officers wear many hats: law enforcement officer, counselor, brokers of service, court officer, advocates, active listeners, community members, and a positive force for change, just to name a few. We can go from the courtroom to assisting with wildfire evacuations or dealing with someone in crisis at a moment's notice. We do this work by determining and addressing the root cause of criminality and linking those involved to appropriate resources that can work to address those areas of concern. In addition, we address behaviors, both good and bad, to support the individual's willingness to change. The factors that we work to address are often an unmet need in the person or family's life. Those unmet needs often explain the why of how an individual arrived at a certain life circumstance. We provide numerous programs and help support specialty courts and programs, including DUI court, mental health court, adult drug court, pre-sentence reports, pretrial assessments, and pretrial supervision. On the juvenile side, we offer Yes Court or Youth Empowerment Services, which is a community-based collaborative court for the highest risk juveniles. The department also offers in-house cognitive behavioral therapy programs, both in custody and in the community. On the juvenile side, we also work closely with K-8 local schools with the Student Family Outreach Team, where an individual officer is assigned to different schools and works with staff, students, and families to address the underlying causes of truancy and behavioral concerns by creating service referrals, including to an in-house licensed clinical social worker. Working with the juvenile population, we work towards being a single caring adult in someone's life. We make efforts to provide consistency during a potentially chaotic time in a family's life, working with not only the individual, but their families, schools, service providers, and other caring adults in their lives. We seek to understand the individual as a whole and not judge them based solely on the charges that are before them. This person or whole family approach allows us to better address those unmet needs and help create long-term sustained change. In closing, we do a lot. The probation department is a critical function of the justice system, and we continuously support those involved by showing up every day, good or bad, with the outcome of creating systemic long-term change.
Thank you. Thank you all for the work you do, especially when I think of the workload. That was kind of interesting. How many folks are in your office with probation?
As far as officers or clients?
Yeah, officers.
22 sworn staff.
Yeah, so that's a workload. And each one's individual. That's what's really, it's not a one size fits all. And so you guys have to work all through that with the programs and the processes. And that's amazing for all of you that take that time to know all your clients individually and want what's best for them to move forward. So I just really want to say thank you. And then I'd like you to introduce your guest.
So this is Nicole Carmen, a former client of ours, and she's here to tell her story, and I really appreciate it because I know how difficult it can be to come up and, one, intimidating, and two, difficult to tell your story about personal things and stuff like that. So I'd like you to welcome Nicole Carmen.
Well, we do, and we're easy bunch here, so we're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I was really honored, excited, and nervous when I got asked to do this. So I was excited at the opportunity to kind of give back to probation and be able to come share about what they gave me. At the start of this journey, I was looking at possibly a long prison sentence. I had lost custody of my kids to CPS, and one of the big roadblocks for me after making some mistakes and getting in trouble was coming out and not having those skills to re-enter into society. Through probation, probation supervised me through the Nevada County Adult Drug Court program this last time. And to be honest, in the past, they gave me a chance and I didn't give them one. So this time, I was willing to work with probation, and the amount of support that I received not only helped me stay out of prison, but it helped me reunite with my children. Which that part gets me emotional, sorry. They helped with resources and support through my CPS case, through the drug court program, through my recovery. I entered probation because I was a drug addict. Probation funded my stay at a transitional living house, which made me able to have my children back with me. I went through 21 years of addiction and couldn't figure out on my own how to get out of it and how to get life back together. And through working with probation, I have full custody of my kids. I'm successfully completed probation. I'm now a manager at my work. I own my own nice car. I got to watch my oldest graduate high school on honor roll and walk through that with her. I get to take my 3-year-old to her first set of swimming lessons today. I've had quite a few of the different officers supervise me, and they've all always been very understanding and kind and not made me feel judged, which for the person on that end of it, it's a big deal. They try to understand you, not just, as was said before, not just your charge that's on that file. Like they knew my kids' names. They knew what was going on in my recovery, what was going on in my job. And not only did I look to them to hold me accountable to walk through my recovery process and getting clean, but I ended up using Miss Moon as a sounding board for a lot of decisions. And I ended up really looking up to all these probation officers and their advice and their thoughts. And I was led to a lot of really good resources as far as acquiring my housing. As I said, when I started this, I was like a lost little kid with how to adult. And now that seems so far removed from who I am today. And I owe a lot of that to the probation department and to Nevada County Adult Drug Court. I now mentor other girls that have CPS cases and some criminal charges going on at the same time. And I'm able to help them walk through this process, which is really neat. I came from a lot of trauma and not a lot of good example of a good example. I had more of a good example of a bad example growing up. So I had shared in a meeting one day that probation raised me a lot better than my parents did. And I'm forever grateful and super appreciative to everything that the probation department has done. Because of them, I get the opportunity to be a mom and to be a good example of a good example to my kids.
That was emotional. I'm just going to tell you. But not for 1 minute do I want you to ever hesitate knowing that you chose it. You chose a path. They gave you a door to open and these wonderful people, but you chose it. So congratulations. That's huge. That's huge. It's the first big step is when it's what you want. And then you find all the solutions that they brought to you. That's moving. That's like very moving. So I am so thrilled for you.
Thank you.
And I'm thrilled to know that that option's out there for everybody that's in this position and that they have these caring folks that work for you like that. That's amazing. And for you to come in today and share that, good on you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, well, if you don't mind, I'm going to open up this to my board now. And does anybody have questions or comments? Start with you, Hardy.
Okay, thanks. I have a comment. Yeah, thank you so much for your courage and honesty. It's so awesome to see you show up here and tell us what you've gone through, what you've been through, how the people around you have helped. And it's hard to do that, but you can now kind of help others through that process, right? And so you're a perfect example of what doing the right thing and building a community means when you're willing to take responsibility and grow and reach out your hand and help somebody else. So I wish you all the luck on the journey forward, and I'm super proud of you. And I'm super proud of the department as well. I had this great opportunity to talk with Jeff for many hours, but we talked a lot about what he cares about, and he talked a lot about the probation department. He talked a lot about his team members. He talked a lot about the clients. And, what really impressed me the most is the compassion that he expressed to me when he talked about the mission that you serve every day. And I would imagine, I don't know everything about the details, but I would imagine some days it's tough, right? Like you're trying to help somebody and they're going the wrong direction. You're trying to go in this direction, they're going this direction. And so coming in every day to believe in somebody like you is really incredibly rewarding and powerful. And I just want to thank you for that. I think, but I also was really impressed by Jeff's leadership and his ability to recognize that he's got this team that works in one direction and trying to build a team that leads through compassion and understanding. And it shows right here in front of us today. So congratulations, Jeff. Well done. And I will proudly support everything that you're doing in this week of recognition. And I just want to extend my sincere thank you to each of you.
Nice, thanks, Hardy. Dan?
Yeah, no, I'm impressed by the scope of responsibility that probation officers have right now. And your psychologist, your family therapist, your drug interventionist, and I swear, Jeff, last Halloween, I did see someone dressed up like Jimmy Amaral. I'm sure of it. And a couple big hands of candy. But, my interest obviously is in juvenile probation and how you handle the fact that we don't have a hall here and our juveniles go someplace out of county, and who has the initial contact when they're released and they come back in, and how do you coordinate with, I think they go to Placer County? How do you coordinate with Placer County?
Well, we're lucky that, it's close. So the officers, if there's a kid in there, which there are very few kids in there, and look today, there's probably 2 or 3 in there. Less? 2. Okay, so there's 2 kids in there right now. The officers assigned to them are over there frequently. It's really not much different than when we had our own hall, other than it's not our staff, obviously, doing the 24/7 supervision, but the connections to services and the connections to the families and the kids and the parents doesn't look a whole lot different than it did previously. You can add to that if you want.
Yeah, Ben, what's the average caseload for each of your officers?
So for juvenile supervision, it's usually about 10 to 12 people on some form of disposition supervision. And in the juvenile system, unlike the adult system, we actually work cases from the initial point of citation or arrest through the entire process. So we're often the first point of contact after a juvenile's been arrested. Usually with our intake caseload, we're at right around 6 to 10 at any given time.
Okay, what's your rate of recidivism right now?
On the juvenile side, it's in the single digits. The majority of juveniles get closed out and we just never see them again. They get a citation, they don't end up on a caseload. They come in for an assessment and then they go back out the other end and never come back, so.
What about the adult side on recidivism?
It's probably, it depends on which caseload, because there's not just probation, there's the folks that come out of prison, the PRCS folks, and the folks that get a local prison, but I would say that, I think last time we checked, it's the lowest in the state relative to, I think Sierra County might be a little bit lower, but I think they have 2 people on probation in Sierra County, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, well, Nicole, congratulations. There's a lot that goes into rehabilitation, and you're a great example. So thanks for being here today. Thanks, Jeff.
Ed?
Well, Nicole, yeah, thank you for coming. It's a wonderful story. And, I would like to hope that your officers that worked with you also had other county programs that you could become involved with, the wraparound part. And I see Ryan Gruber up there and Phoebe Bell. You may not know those people, but you're a victory for them also. So I think this is wonderful. And I want to say congratulations to all of your department, Jeff. As you said, things have changed pretty dramatically in the last number of years. I think the state's been sold a bill of goods on things like safe neighborhoods and safe schools and need to be looked at again. But here in our county, it seems to be a success, and that says so much to all of you out there. So thank you so very much. And I do want to say one thing. It's been 14 years since I last managed the Nevada County Fair, but I always remember law enforcement was a huge deal out there, and we always had the contract with the Sheriff's Department, and the brown uniforms and the headquarters. But there were always those other folks out there in their probation uniforms, so you didn't know they were there. But they were always there, usually out around the alcohol area, I noticed. But I always felt so much better about that because sometimes the sheriffs could be short on people. I suspect they probably are this year too. And you guys kind of filled in and filled that need. And we knew you were out there. And so on behalf of the fairgrounds, I say thank you for your service out there too. And thank you for all that you have done in recent years. Thanks, Jeff.
Nice. Heidi?
Thank you so much. I want to first thank Jeff also for your leadership. I know you take an extremely thoughtful approach about what probation should be like and what you want from your staff and what results you want, and I think it's a wonderful one, and I think the successes you're seeing are part of that. So thank you for that. And thanks to the staff for all you do. I keep thinking you must be one of the most positive groups of people, because I see how hard sometimes it is. I mean, you must just always be positive and give the people you're working with that opportunity to keep encouraging them to take all the services you're offering, and that can be, I can imagine that can be hard sometimes. So thank you for being who you are, and thank you also for the extra service you put in these last couple of years in helping us here in the chambers. I know you guys stepped in and did more than you usually have to. So very much appreciate your work in the community. And to you, young lady, good job. It's very, very hard work that you're doing. I know you're very strong. I know it's a lifelong effort, and hang in there, keep going. We are proud of you.
Thanks, Heidi. Oh, there's just so much. We could go on all day. I mean, you guys all stepped up right in the middle of our disaster and worked through that along with all the other things that you were doing. I mean, you're just always in the presence of the community, and it shows that you all care. This was great. So I do have to open this up to public comment. And there's no one in the chamber, but Julia, is there any written public comment, or is there anyone online?
I have no written public comment, and no one's online right now, Chair.
Okay, well, great. With that, I'm going to close public comment. And I just want to encourage all the members of our community to join together and celebrate you during this time. If they run into you, come up and say hi and thank you for the work you're doing. I think that's the nice thing about this. And if there's any activities that we all can share with you, just let us know, because you are celebrated every day, but this week in particular. So, and with that, I'm going to read the resolution because it's fairly powerful, okay? Because I think really it says a lot about who you all are. I mean, the proclamation. And the thing about that too is, way back from Chief Ortola to you, Chief, is educating us on what you do. When I first came on the board 4 years ago, 4 years ago, I had a whole different idea of what probation should be or how it works. And taking that extra time in the beginning, it's like I was so moved about what we do. And then now I get to see it in action. And it says that, just like we have 2 kids in, we have 2 kids right now in custody, right? But that could be many, many more kids if we weren't making the impact that you guys are making. So with that, this is a resolution proclaiming July 17, 23 through 17th through the 23rd, 2022 as Probation Services Week. And I'm going to read this, and then we're going to vote on this. And then, if you guys all don't mind, I'd like to figure out, we'll get up here and do a picture moment if you don't all mind. That would be great. So whereas community corrections are an essential part of the justice system, and whereas community correction professionals uphold the law with dignity while recognizing the right of the public to be safeguarded from criminal activity, and whereas community corrections professionals are responsible for supervising adult and juvenile offenders in the community, and whereas community corrections professionals are trained professionals who provide services and referrals for offenders, and whereas community corrections professionals work in partnership with community agencies and groups, and whereas community correction professionals work in coordination with HHSA partners to provide a higher level of service, and whereas community correction professionals promote prevention, intervention, and advocacy, and whereas community correction professionals provide services, support, and protection for victims, and whereas community correction professionals advocate community and restorative justice, and whereas community corrections professionals are a true force for positive change in their communities. And with that, I would accept a motion to pass this resolution.
So moved.
Moved by Hardy.
Second.
Seconded by Dan. Julie, could you call the roll?
Yes, thank you. District 3?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
And District 4?
District 4. Now therefore, let it be resolved that Nevada County, California Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim July 17th through the 23rd, 2022 as Probation Services Week. So thank you all so much. So now let's be creative. Maybe some of us can get up here, you guys get up on the dais, and we'll just get all in here and get a nice picture. Yep. Okay, with that, gosh, that was amazing. We're gonna go do some announcements. And Dan, I'm gonna start with you.
Hey, okay, fine. Not a lot, some RCRC stuff, Regional Housing Authority meeting that was very short, went down to, they did give us the housing, I gave Allison the report on the housing and the median household rents and in Nevada County compared to other counties, which was interesting, we're high. Got, next week, we got NACO coming up. Number of us are going to that. But other than that, just some constituent issues as far as wildfire prevention issues and some people having issues with our, where we're buying homes and placing people. But that's about it.
Thanks, Dan, that was good. Heidi?
Thank you. Let's see. Yesterday, I got to sit with Allison and Steve Monahan and Kristen York down at KNCO to spend an hour talking about broadband. That was a lot of fun. It's been a long time since we've done something like that. Attended an ongoing Nisenan housing meeting to see how we can work with the Nisenan tribe to get some of the elders housed. I did attend, as I mentioned earlier, a number of Firewise meetings, some by Zoom, some in person, and again, the You Bet one was really phenomenal. They set the standard, I think. That was lots of good stuff going on out there. I attended the cannabis work group from CSAC where they focused on taxes this time, and as we know now, there will be tax relief for the legal growers coming up soon. Or I think actually as of July 1st, it's going to be retroactive. I did attend a NACO Public Land Steering Committee on Zoom. We did a pre-meeting to start looking at our resolutions and platform, and I have to give a shout out to Jeffrey, who's always willing to work with me on thoughts and ideas and suggestions. And and then Civic Well, previously Local Government Commission. Civic Well is going through an executive director transition, and I'm on their board, and so we're doing a lot of work with a recruiter and looking for somebody to be a new leader for that excellent organization. And I think I'll leave it at that.
That was great, Heidi. Ed?
Thank you, Chair. So, very quickly, an Area 4 meeting this past week on aging. I had the opportunity to sit down and meet with Karen Hull with the NID and talk about joint things that are going on between the county and NID, which was good. Had several meetings with the staff on different issues and a special NCTC transportation meeting. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Hardy?
Thanks, Chair Hook. Supervisor Schofield and I had our AQMD meeting, our Quality Management District meeting, and Gretchen's capturing a number of really great grants and bringing that revenue back to Nevada County in all kinds of different ways. So that's great to see. Also hired a smoke management officer from the Forest Service. May help us fast track some of the prescribed fire that we want to use, not this time of year, obviously, but late fall, winter. I had a meeting on Donner Summit. The road's been closed off and on for the last couple of years, and so the community's getting pretty restless without the through traffic on Donner Summit. So it was nice to meet up there. Staff supported me in talking with them, and the road should be open by the end of August. And new store going in up there. And I met with the town of Truckee, Alfred, who's their new transportation manager. He's implementing a bike share program. He came out of Park City, Utah, and put an entire bike share program together for Park City. So my hope is that maybe we can get a presentation at our August Board of Supervisors meeting from the town of Truckee and Alfred specifically to describe the success he's had with bike share programs and alternative transportation. So we're looking forward to that. We had our CCC meeting, which was, we get really great participation in that meeting every time. I think, oh, everybody's going to be busy and gone vacation, and then it's full. So it's really great to see. We talked about fire, and then we talked about sustainability planning for our region and the county. We did some polling, which is really fun. So there's a little app, and you ask people what's the most important conservation measure to you, and you go through these polling questions, and at least in that part of the county, there's a huge commitment to conservation and planning for the future and climate change. So our economy is based on climate and the natural environment that we live in. So it's really critical. It's like farming, right? So you lose the water, you lose the farm. So we're talking a lot about that, moving toward the sustainability plan, which I'm excited about. The other piece is really exciting is we're planning this Nevada County Conservation Summit. The final name I think isn't totally adopted yet, but it's going to be South Yuba Cohort and Triple C plus some elected and appointed leaders at the state and federal level at a really nice venue in Truckee. So it's going to be an official format where we can get together and talk about what we care about. And I'm really, really excited, getting a lot of support on that. So thank you to the CEO's office for supporting that initiative. I met with NID, with Ricky Heck, and talked to her a lot about where the county and NID overlap, recreation, access, and fire access, and she had some great pieces of information. She happens to be the Greenhorn Firewise community leader, I believe. So she also gave me insight on that, which connected me to the UBET fire meeting on Saturday. Went out there, had a great time, got to talk to a bunch of people out there, and it's incredible what that community is doing. They are really highly aligned on what they want to do out there. And then, let's see. Oh, Connected Communities is a project to make a bike trail from Truckee to the Oregon border. So it's Greg Williams, the Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship, and he's also, I hope, going to come to our board meeting in August in Truckee and present that concept. And trails are, like we saw in Trisha's piece, they just connect people and connect economies, and they're a great way to build community. So Greg's going to come talk to us, and I've been working with him on a way to showcase that with a bike ride. And I'll finish out with our Heart of Gold ride, which is starting off to really get going. We have a brand new logo, which is really awesome. We just opened up registration yesterday. We finalized the course last Sunday. Jeff Goldman and I put the seal of somewhat approval on it, and we are registering people, and people are registering. So we hope to get 500 riders here in the fall. That's our goal. Yeah, and that'll generate, I don't know, $60,000 for teen mental wellness. And Dan has graciously agreed to make the benefactor of portion of RCRC's commitment to Bright Futures for Youth, which will go to benefit teen mental wellness. So thank you, Dan, for reaching out your hand to do that. It's awesome. It's going to be a great cause. So that's it for me.
Yeah, no, that's great. So mine's NCT special meeting, we did that. Regional Housing Authority, which was great. I had my SV EMS JIP that I belong to, and we said goodbye to Vicki Panetta, who's done a wonderful job at the helm, and welcome John Pullen. So new changing of the guard there, but a lot of good things going. And it's really interesting because some of the complaints we get about, you hear people saying that the response times aren't good, but I tell you, there's nothing in our list in my district or through the county really that's in that 95, 98 percentile, which I think is pretty darn great with the amount of folks that we have here with our emergency services and just the amount of work that they do, because it's not just about that. It has a lot to do with emergencies and different things when they get called out on fires and all those. So it's just really impressive what those folks are doing down there. I had opportunity to take a class here, and I just want to say those are great little things they've put on us through our IGS department for safety, of internet safety. And there's so many things going on where you can be hacked, and we have to pay attention all the time about malware and phishing and pishing and all this stuff. So really interesting, and I learn something every time I take that. I had a really good meeting with our CEO and PG&E, talking about the outages and the issues that we're dealing with in all of our districts and vegetation management. And so stay tuned. We're going to look for a presentation from them here in the near future, because it is a struggle. These new switches, they are quick. They are meant to save and stop fires, and they're not going to go away. So hopefully we'll have a presentation that helps with that. And I would encourage everybody to go to their webpage, because there are some opportunities for reimbursements for generator type things, issues that you have. If you have medical things, there's some things there for battery backup. So they're working at those issues. Are we going to still continue to challenge them on some of the things that are going on? Of course we are, but they are trying to do their due diligence as well. So it was a really great meeting and positive. Met with Rough and Ready and LAFCO, lots of things. Had a great meeting with Pin Valley about their area plan and looking at what they would like to do. You know, of course, have lates. There's always kinds of issues that they're looking for, and I got to appreciate staff always is there to be there to support and help everyone through those issues. And then, of course, for me, the river fire was huge in my district, and that took up a great deal, not the river fire, the rice fire. And then I'm just gonna take this opportunity to say thank you. Not even, I mean, to the community, but to everybody that worked on that. When you look at the people involved to save our community, and, you know, they put their life at risk, but, you know, it's not just fire. We had CAL FIRE, we had fire agencies from near and far. Our contractors were there, we had inmates that were there helping, we had hand crew people there, we had, I mean, it just goes on, the list. Our search and rescue team was a viable part of that. And then you get down to the county and our OES and our emergency services and Cal OES and the people that were on staff every day doing the work to keep everybody informed and keep everyone safe. Animal rescue out to the fairgrounds. So there's the fairgrounds was involved. I think my little community of North San Juan appreciated we finally got those message boards up, and OES made sure that those had to update every day as to where the fire was, who was being evacuated, or what, how that was moving. Commend the sheriff's office for getting people moved back into their homes that were able to go home. And then the continued work that's going to happen with the folks that unfortunately did lose their homes and some of their outbuildings. But all in all, just an amazing response from all of these teams that come together. And I just always am thankful for that collaboration, because I just talked to somebody on a different fire, and it's not that way. We have something very special with our teams that all work together here, and I like to thank them all, because it's not about who's in charge, it's about how do we make this work and how do we protect our community. So, and again, the public and the community members up in the North San Juan area, you guys did a rocking good job. You really did. You listened, you evacuated, you followed direction. And even though it's tough being away from home, you guys made that work. So that was a busy week. I always know the road to North San Juan, but I know it a lot more that week. So that was a big part of my time. So with that, that's about all I have for today. But again, just a big shout out and thank you to everybody for that made the Rice's fire come to a close, and we put that thing to bed, and I'm thankful for that. And don't start fires this time of year, people. Don't mow in the middle of the day. Don't just kind of really think before you do things. I mean, the other day I had 2 fires in Pin Valley. I had one in Smartville, and I had one in Lake Wildwood. So it's just, we have to always be on top of think. And that's what you all can do to keep us all safe for the rest of the summer. So with that, I think we're done, and I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
Ready Nevada County is an education campaign designed to help the public have successful outcomes during emergency events. We really